Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Friday Night Football on ClutchSportsIL.com. Alongside Cody Roskins, I'm Larry Larson. And Cody, these two teams have waited so long for this, well over 400 days. There's a lot of excitement out here tonight.
Yeah, like you said, Larry, it's been an extremely long wait for both these schools, having the season pushed back from the fall to the spring. But nevertheless, we're very excited to be out here for the season opener.
Absolutely. We can't wait to get started, and it should be a great matchup. It's the defending Mid-Illini co-champions, Pekin and Dunlap, and whenever you get two defending champions, it almost feels like a championship game to start the season.
Yeah, just like, anytime in the fall, you get two very hype programs coming into the season. Both are very excited to play each other for the season opener, and I'm sure this Dunlap home crowd will be very enthused as we receive over 1,000 home fans should be in attendance here tonight in Dunlap.
Let's take a look at the home team Eagles, and whenever you talk about Brett Cazalet's squad, you talk about success. They've made the playoffs for the last 5 seasons, but this year they're a little young. What can we expect to change about this Dunlap squad?
Well, just starting off the top of my head, we have the potential to see 3 different starting quarterbacks for Dunlap, so extremely different philosophies when you come to all 3 of them. We're noted that one of them could be more of a runner, and their passing game will take a little bit of a hit because of that, but we expect a strong offensive line to return for Dunlap, and their running back scheme, power and zone, should be in full effect tonight.
Taking a look at the Dragons, it's kind of the opposite of that. They return a lot of experience.
Yeah, they're a much more seasoned group, and like you said, being co-Mid-Illini conference champions last season, carrying that conference, they want to win it outright this year, and they have a lot to prove starting off here in the season opener.
They certainly do. It's Eagles and Dragons coming up next on ClutchSportsIL.com. They are playing the fight song here at Dunlap High School, about 5 minutes away from kickoff, and Cody, just looking at the stands and seeing it filled with people, the maroon and gold, it's exciting.
Yeah, it really is, Larry. It's good to see Dunlap's hometown supporters come out in full force tonight. Said in the open, expecting around 1,000 people is what we were told were the tickets available for today's contest, and it's a beautiful sight to have fans back in the stadium.
It really is, and it's a different season, needless to say, going from the normal fall season to a normal spring season. What kind of effect do you think that's going to have on tonight's ball game? Because it really does feel like fall, but other than that, other than the weather, it might be the only thing.
Yeah, just something else to note is maybe just the nerves. They've been drug out for another couple months.
We're going to take a pause here prior to our national anthem.
Thank you. Folks, please remain standing and face the American flag in the north end zone. And gentlemen, remove your caps as we pay honor to America with the singing of our national anthem. Tonight's national anthem will be performed by senior and back-to-back 2020-2021 All-State base Jake Buckley. Jake is the son of Mike and Laura Buckley and is involved in show choir, Scholastic Bowl, jazz, tennis, the International Thespian Society, the Marching Eagles, and he is this year's Madrigal King.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
There you heard a nice performance of our nation's national anthem by a Dunlap student. And Cody, the national anthem feels different when there are fans in the stands.
That's right. There's just something about it. The atmosphere is a lot different. I mean, especially for you and I coming off a season in which we, in full force, saw the Bradley basketball games have no one in the stadium. I mean, it's a nice little treat to finally have some ears for the song to fall on.
It really is, and we're grateful for the fans in the stands and the fans watching along at home on ClutchSportsIL.com. Taking a look At tonight's forecast, kickoff temperature estimated a 47 degrees. It really feels warmer than that, especially on the surface of the turf. But Cody, before the national anthem, we were talking about the one effect of a spring season is more daylight, and the bright sunlight is shining into the press box, and that might play an effect on both teams tonight.
Yeah, I mean, especially in the passing game. If you have someone here on the near sideline towards us here in the press box, they're running a crossing route towards that side of the field. They're having to look into that sun for a couple of seconds, and that's hard to zero in on an object no bigger than a football, you know, no more than a foot long. It's going to be tough.
It certainly will be, as you can maybe see the inflatable eagle has taken the field, one of the favorite features of fans and Clutch Sports media whenever we come out to Dunlap. It's pretty cool to see the eagle. So we take a moment to take a look at last season's Mid-Illini Conference standings, and you see Dunlap and Pekin tied atop the conference. Pekin had a roller coaster of a year last year, Cody, starting 0-3 before rattling off 6 straight victories. And in an article postseason, I read one by Steve Stein in the Pekin newspaper, and he was talking about how the team treated all those 6 games that they won in a row like playoff football, and so it's going to be interesting to see if that carries over to this spring.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're technically the hot team, running off 6 in a row after losing their first 3 to open the season, but I guess you could almost call this the rubber match. No one wants to be co-anything, especially when it's co-champs. They want to have the title themselves, so I guess we'll see which team comes out with a little bit of chip on their shoulder first.
And whenever you can finish atop of the Mid-Illini Conference, it is so impressive because you look down the list there, you got Washington and Metamora below both Dunlap and Pekin. Pekin, a historic year last year, they beat Washington and Metamora in the same season for the first time in school history. And whenever you can beat both those programs and in really dominant fashion, that's highly impressive.
Yeah, and especially for me, since this is my first year in the region, I've heard a lot about these 2 programs and a lot of respect all the way around the Mid-Illini Conference for all those teams in the upper echelon. And it sounds like another Dunlap team here is getting ready to make another push for the claim for the top spot in the Mid-Illini, as well as Metamora, Washington, like you said, Pekin as well. And it'll be a fun little contest to see where both teams use this as a measuring stick game.
Needless to say, both teams are going to come out hungry as you see the Eagles introduced, ripping through the sign, getting the student section fired up, and there is a lot of energy outside here tonight. Pekin's also going to come out motivated, Cody, because we mentioned that 6-game win streak. Their last regular season loss of the season was to this Dunlap team, and you could even say they had that game in hand. They had a lead in the final minutes before turning the ball over 3 times in the final 5 minutes of that game, so really a heartbreaker for the Dragons.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it was an 11-point loss, 31-20. So nothing out of the realm of possibility that, I know a stretch of the imagination was a blowout. This was a tough-fought game. Like you said, some late turnovers cost them. But we'll just have to see which team's buttoned up here. First game, like we said, reduced practice time. Some position somewhere is going to struggle on some side of the ball. So we'll have to see where that's kind of rears its ugly head for both teams.
At long last, it is almost time for football after well over 400 days of waiting. It's football night across the state of Illinois, and we thank you for spending it with us on ClutchSportsIL.com. Dunlap won the toss and deferred the kickoff, so they will receive the second half kickoff, and Pekin will have the ball to start the game.
Just a small note, me and you were talking about it before the game. This is a great uniform matchup. I mean, it's kind of nice to see like these hazel gold uniforms out here for Dunlap, and of course the white and orange for Pekin. Classic look.
Really is a classic look. Doing the booting for Dunlap, number 6, a number that we don't have on our roster. But Brett Cazalet told us yesterday that he's going to be having a soccer player doing the kicking this year. He gives it a boot. It's a short kick, fielded at the 20 by Pekin. And he's got a man, and he's going to dive on just short of the 40-yard line. And Pekin will take over with some good field position to start. The return was by Chase Frainer.
Yeah, and some things to look out for early here on the first drive of the game for both teams. On the defensive side of the ball, we were told that Dunlap's defense would be their strong suit coming into this season, so we'll have to see how strong they bow their necks here. And on offense, Pekin returns a very veteran squad.
They really do, led by number 3, senior quarterback Wyatt Van Ness, a 2-year starter. He's out of the gun here. Looks like we got a false start right away.
Flag in the play.
And it looked like Keaton Cates
False start is the call.
jumped off sides a little bit. Gabe Calhoun was right there ready to cover him, and Cates got a little anxious. Cody, I think we're going to see a number of those calls tonight.
Yeah, it's first game of the year, especially with a delayed season start, that is. You can expect a little sloppiness from both sides to be excusable.
Van Ness takes the snap, reads the defense, steps up, and he's going to go long. He's got a man, and he overshot him.
Yeah, blown coverage that time on the back end by Dunlap. Couldn't tell if it was just a single high look or not, but he lost in the lights. As we said coming in, that sun could play a huge factor in the passing game.
The intended receiver was Drake Hawkins, a player that had a big year last year, was named to the Mid-Illini All-Conference team. Dragons wasting no time here. Getting right back up to the line of scrimmage off the incomplete pass at 2nd and 15. Now it's a give right up the middle, and falling forward for about a yard, if that. It's Kanye Tyler.
Yeah, just not a lot of room to work up there. Good job by the defensive line of Dunlap to collapse the gaps. Not much you can do there as a running back if there's not a whole lot of room put up by your offensive line.
3rd and long for the Dragons as Van Ness looks to the sideline for the call from head coach Doug Nutter in his 13th season with the Dragons. Led them to a lot of success over the last few years. Van Ness in trouble. And he's brought down in the backfield. What a start for this Dunlap defense. Brett Cazalet told us yesterday that that was going to be the strongest unit of the group, and they show it there.
Yeah, great pressure that time by the D-line of Dunlap, collapsing the pocket. He tried to scramble out late, but no room and nowhere to breathe, so that's going to go down as a sack. First one of the season for Dunlap.
3 and out for the Dragons. Great start to the season for Dunlap. 4th and 32 will result in a punt. Play clock at 10. And the punt is popped up. It's a bad one. The Dragons got to stay out of the way and kind of let it bounce, and they're going to let it roll, and it will be downed at about the 30-yard line by Tanner Sprecher. How about that great field position to start for the Eagles?
Yeah, dream start right now for Dunlap. I mean, if you're Pekin, we said it coming in, someone somewhere is going to struggle. Maybe that's a special teams unit. Both coaches' staffs kind of hinted at it earlier, so we'll have to keep an eye on that in the kicking game, especially with Dunlap also having a new kicker on their roster.
Special teams might be a question mark for both sides, as Cody just said. Talking with Dunlap head coach Brett Cazalet yesterday, he said for sure that is their weakest unit. Under center for the Eagles here is Dietz, and it looks like they run the triple option. And just about a yard, if that, is picked up on the give. It looked like to Mitchell Gore, and that's a name that we're going to call a lot tonight for the Eagles.
Yeah, and the thing about this triple option offense right there, or that look, was that a lot of times if the defensive line collapses, the quarterback can keep that handoff and also pitch if he gets to the perimeter. If not, just a standard handoff, maybe just trying to test the interior strength of Pekin.
Dietz on the give. There's Gore again, and he's got a blocker and dives over a defender to the 20-yard line.
Great job that time. The reverse pivot by the quarterback, able to get the up back or fullback, utility back, however you want to describe it for this Dunlap offense down the field. And right now they're on the edge of the red zone.
That will move the sticks. Gore running a little bit like former NFL running back Frank Gore. His head down, low center of gravity. One of the strongest runners in the area. There's the give again. It's a sweep. And the runner's got some room. It's Gully. And he reaches for the pylon. Did he get there? He did not. He's down just short at about the 1.
Very fortunate not to have that fumble pop out and go through the end zone.
It was close.
2-yard line. It'll be 1st and goal.
And that's that deceitful factor here in the wishbone. Get all that defensive eyes staring down towards the middle, expecting some guards to get on some backers at the next level. And get the downhill running game going, and then as soon as that happens, you hit them outside for a big one.
After Dunlap can't punch it in on that play, they're going to get moved back 5 yards on a penalty. So they almost get to the end zone, but a setback here.
Eagles will have first down and 15.
That'll be first and 15.
25-yard line.
Replay first down. We've seen a lot of running game for the Eagles, a team that usually likes to air it out a little bit. Dietz takes the snap, and it's Gore on the carry, looking for room, and he doesn't have any.
Yeah, not a lot of room there for Dunlap. Again, trying to get that interior ground game established. It's going to be critical if you want to establish play action later in the game. Try and stretch the defense over the top.
Looks like a gain of about 4 for Gore.
Brings up second and 11 for the Eagles.
Thing about to watch about this offense is if that motion back or wing back, which coming around the fullback does not receive the ball, he's eligible to receive a pitch from the quarterback. So on the perimeter run game, keep an eye out for that.
Braden Orr in motion. And it looks like Dietz is going to keep it, and he is wrapped up in the backfield. No gain for the Eagles quarterback.
Strung out beautifully by the Pekin defense that time, flowing sideline to sideline. That motion back / wing back turned into a lead blocker. Not much blocking was done there. Loss of a yard.
Just outside the 20-yard line.
Dragons defense was all over that one. Now that sets up 3rd and long for Dunlap. Get a quick personnel change.
Not to harp on it too much, like we said, Dunlap with a new kicker. This is not obviously a gimme field goal attempt, so
certainly not.
So any yardage here to make a field goal attempt easier, if that's what they're thinking, could be all the difference.
Dietz. Yeah, toss it to the sideline for Irby. And he looked to cut back inside, but it looked like he was tripped up initially by Chase Frainer. And that really broke up the big play potential for Dunlap. And after a gain of about 2 or 3.
Yeah, and you see that concept a lot at the college level, just a quick little smoke route or flank or screen route. It's going to sit, try and catch like a lead block. Maybe you can cut it back up the middle and gain some more yardage. Nothing doing there. Great discipline that time by Pekin.
Timeout of the field, Eagles. That's their first.
And a timeout will be taken by Brett Cazalet and the Eagles. And you come to an interesting juncture here, Cody, because you mentioned the lack of a kicker. On 4th and 8, ball on the 18. Like you said, no gimme field goal, so what do you do here?
Well, I mean, obviously, I don't know the kicker all that well. But if you think he's got a chance to sneak one through here, I think you have to take it. Free points on a possession like the one your defense just gave you are critical. But if you've got a play in the back of your playbook that can get you 9 yards, I don't see why you wouldn't call it here. Worst case scenario, you're putting the Pekin offense, if you don't convert, backed up against your defense, which through one possession was very solid. So we'll see what they dial up.
Both defenses reigning supreme here. Dunlap had one big play. It was a carry by Braden Orr. Dove for the goal line, fell just short of the pylon, and a flag brought the play back. Other than that, we have not seen any big plays from either side. And Dunlap is going to go for it on 4th and 8.
Telling his team he's going to be aggressive early on.
One receiver out wide. Looks like Irby on the top of your screen. And Dietz is tripped up. A broken play for Dunlap on 4th and 8, and it's a turnover on down.
And I couldn't tell if that was 28 Graham Glover for Dunlap that was coming across the backside. Looked like they wanted to fake the dive up the middle and have a reverse on the edge with the wing back. Would have had some home run potential there on 4th and 8. I definitely fooled me on the initial look.
So now Dunlap will start the drive at their own 23 after their defense holds strong. Van Ness out of the gun. And gives. And it was Tyler on the carry, falling forward for a gain of about 4. Productive yardage for the Dragons to start the drive.
Got press coverage here towards the near side of the field.
Van Ness another give, and this time Tyler's wrapped up just in front of the line of scrimmage. So it'll be 3rd and about 5.
3rd down and manageable, definitely what you want to be in as an offense. Maybe a little closer would be ideal. But Pekin's going to have a real chance to open up the playbook here on 3rd down.
Approaching the halfway mark of the first quarter. Van Ness looking to Doug Nutter on the sideline for the call. Dragons are going to spread it out wide.
If I'm Dunlap, I'm careful for running back bouncing this outside.
And that's exactly what they look to do, and the Eagles have none of it. They must be listening to the broadcast, Cody.
I like to think I'm not in tune, but I didn't see any pulling action there on the offensive line. Maybe it just looked like he had an alley scraping off the right tackle. But instead, Pekin will try and punt this one away a little better than they did the last time.
So it looks like it'll be Luke Gross. He fields the snap, and this time the punt is high arcing, bounces beyond the Dunlap 40, and will be down at the 34. So a good boot that time. Dunlap has a little more field to drive now.
Yeah, and this is really big for Pekin because so far this has been a battle of field position. And playing the game on your own half of the field doesn't bode well for success unless you're going to score a couple times over the top. But both defenses, like we said, could be the strong units for their team coming into tonight. And Dunlap had a little bit of success on the ground early on, but it was snuffed out later by Pekin. So we'll have to watch the battle in the trenches, maybe the key tonight.
Well, I want to take a brief moment to remind you of our sponsors tonight. We'll get to them in a few minutes. Uftring Nissan, Uftring Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Zach Butler State Farm. But first, Dunlap. The pitch backwards, or looking for room outside, and he's got none. It's a loss of about 3.
A nice job by the Pekin defense to string out the wing back toss again. That utility back coming around the edge of the fullback. Tries to get a little bit of head of steam going, maybe some lead blocking from the opposite side wing back. Not much doing there for Dunlap.
Cody, one thing with Dunlap that Joey Wright and I saw last year and the few times that we saw them, they like to roll the quarterback out wide, throw downfield. This year, it's been the complete opposite. Run the triple option. No really big play threats yet as they go to their big running back threat, Gore, and he's wrapped up right at the line. Defensive line holding strong for the Dragons tonight.
Yeah, and now I know that didn't net a lot of yards for Dunlap, but I'm not sure if you saw it. They had 2 offensive linemen pulling towards the near boundary. Had a great kick-out block and a funnel runner. He just had no one to block because Gore wasn't there, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. If that's a play they go back to, maybe look for Gore to bounce it here to the near sideline.
Perhaps one name that we have not called much tonight and should expect to hear eventually is Gabe Calhoun. Star wide receiver, has not been involved in the offense early on, and it looks like Dietz on the keeper couldn't quite turn the corner and is brought down at the 36-yard line.
Great discipline again by Pekin running that triple option method there. Step 1, got to defend the fullback dive. So you collapse the gap, stay home if you're a defensive/nose tackle. Next up, you got to secure the quarterback. That time they bootleg him out, able to string it out well. Great discipline by the linebackers.
Dunlap's going to need to punt it on 4th and 6. They may run a fake, but one thing that Brett Cazalet told us yesterday is they really don't have a punter. The snap is back. There's the boot. Line drive punt. It bounces and rolls past the 30 to the 25, and it will be downed by Dunlap, and it looks like we got a little scuffle near the 50-yard line. Is broken up, but Pekin will take over at about the 20. And we do take this break to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Uftring Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Nissan on Allen Road in Peoria. Test drive the latest exciting Nissan products, including the all-new 2021 Rogue and Sentra. Plus, save time and buy your car 100% online. Visit uftring.net today. And by Zach Butler, State Farm in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 for all your insurance needs. Zach Butler, State Farm. And the first play of the drive for Pekin is blown up. A tackle for a loss of about 4, Cody, and that seems to be a trend for both teams today. Haven't been able to get anything going on the first few plays of drives.
Yeah, and it's really because the defense has set the tone, which offensively you can't allow to happen, but they had a member of the secondary creep down and plug a hole with a pulling guard. Would have been.
Looks like we got, could be an interception, and the official signal it is.
Great job breaking on the outside route by Dunlap. They try to sprint the quarterback to the near boundary. They have a little bit of a flag route, maybe sit in the zone in case they're running zone. Usually used against man-to-man coverage.
But that time, a diving effort gives Dunlap their first takeaway of the year.
The flag is on Pekin, so that penalty will be declined. The interception was Duron Gully, the senior, flying in. He read that one like a storybook, Cody, and you said it. They tried to run the quarterback Van Ness out of the pocket, and it did not work out. Now Dunlap has its best field position to start of the day as they take over on the Pekin 25.
Now, a lot of coaches in this situation like to take a big shot after a turnover, so maybe take a look downfield here. We haven't seen Dunlap do that much today.
They're going to run it out of the gun. Different quarterback here. It's Burke. Burke will keep it, and he's wrapped up at the 30. Loss of 5. And the Pekin defense is fired up, rightfully so. Big tackle there. Looked like Wisely.
Yeah, maybe a little miscommunication in the back. It looked like the running back ran off the right hip of the quarterback when he was faking the ball to the left. I don't think it really would have mattered, though. Pekin had that snuffed out very well.
Dunlap trying to go with a little bit more of a spread on this drive to try and get the ball to their outside threats. Gabe Calhoun at the top of your screen. Keep an eye on him. Burke once again out of the gun. Gore in the backfield with him. Flag flies, and that's going to be a delay of game. Excuse me, a timeout taken by Dunlap before the delay of game was sprung upon them. Probably a good timeout, but Cody, we've seen Dunlap take both, or 2 of its timeouts, 2 of its 3 here in the first half in the first quarter. I think that kind of reflects that this is the first game of the season for them.
Most definitely it does, Larry. And as a head coach, you can only imagine the headset is if there's something that's going to go wrong for your team and you can prevent it by burning a timeout, I think you're inclined to do so. So I agree with the decision here. I mean, your defense has been playing lights out, so you're not too worried about preserving time, if there's a late possession in the half. So I think you really got to do the most what you can in this possession. Looks like a 2nd and 13. Try and work that into a 3rd down and 5. Give yourself a chance on 3rd down. Let's keep this drive moving.
Looks like the Eagles are going to stick with Burke. And, Cody, how does that keep the defense off balance when the offense switches from a triple option type scheme and then all of a sudden runs the spread?
So that's a good point you bring up, Larry. So the utility of the triple option is, and that wishbone is, it's a lot more compact. It's a lot more discipline. You have to, defend the fullback, the quarterback run game, and of course the wingback, and of course, the passing game out of it on play action. Now when you get to the spread look, it spreads the defense out. There's more natural running lanes in the zone, but I see here Pekin stacking the box. They have 7. Maybe you can even count 8 with that slot corner.
Burke's going to step up and air it out to the end zone looking for, looks like Irby on the catch for the Dunlap touchdown. And finally, the Eagles are on the board after a lot of offensive frustration. That's Gabe Calhoun on the touchdown catch. The basketball star just got off the hardwood for a tough season for the Eagles and starts his football season with a bang, 6-0 Dunlap.
Great route that time by Calhoun, but you can't forget the offensive line giving quarterback a lot of time to scan the defense. They had a lot of outbreaking routes, a double team down here in the slot, had to look off some coverage. And that time, Gabe Calhoun does a great job just finding his way behind the secondary.
The extra point is through the uprights and good. Dunlap up by a touchdown and an extra point. And Cody, I think going to the gun was certainly the right call for Dunlap there.
Yeah, and just going back to what I was saying about the responsibility changes, that's what that formation is designed to do. Spread it out, give your quarterback a lot of options. That puts the one-on-one athlete possibilities. If you have a strong athlete like you do in Gabe Calhoun to win on the perimeter, that's what you might have to go to. And that was just a beautiful throw and catch.
How will Pekin respond? They'll get the kickoff here. Down 7-0 early. Been a defensive battle so far. But a turnover created that opportunity in the red zone for Dunlap. So defense turning into offense a little bit there.
Now, if you remember, Larry, back to the first position on offense for Pekin, they took a shot down the field and had a man with the step who kind of got behind the Dunlap secondary. So maybe if you're Pekin, you try and hammer home the run game, fake a handoff. Let's see if we can sneak one over the top and level this thing at 7 apiece.
We've talked about the special teams aspect for both these squads, and honestly, so far they haven't looked bad for either side. Dunlap able to convert the extra point there. Their kicker seems to be working out pretty well here. Another short kick there, targeted towards the sideline, muffed a little bit. Dragons are going to be able to return it a few yards past the 20, brought down short of the 25. Logan Buckler on the kick return, picking up a few times there. Logan Buck, that is, the senior.
If I'm Pekin, I'm coming out here. I'm looking to treat this game as a 0-0. Let's go out, establish the inside zone running game. Let's get some linemen down on some linebackers. Like we said, this is going to be the strength of the Dunlap team. We got to try to find a way to wear them down. Can't have all these short drives.
Wyatt Van Ness and company looking to get something going. They've been running the gun the whole game, and they give right up the middle. Nowhere to go for the running back.
Yeah, just a little power O concept that time by Pekin. They pulled the right guard, tried to get a little bit of a kick-out block on the edge. Offensive lineman on the left side got stonewalled by the defensive line of Dunlap. That enabled them to shut that down very quickly.
Isaac Lawler wrapped up for a gain of about 1. Now they're going to pitch outside. Lawler again brought down in the backfield. Dunlap's defense having none of that.
And that time, that's just a little halfback toss out of the shotgun. They had 3 men carrying over on swing blocks. And that time, number 76, Tyler Haynes, just a little late getting there, got blown up. It's resulting in a big loss for Pekin.
3rd and long once again. Both teams have found themselves in this scenario a few times. Pekin has not been able to convert. They've got the big play potential, though. Van Ness rolling left, looking long. He looks like he's got a man downfield, but he's going to keep it, and he's going to get to the sticks. Where do they mark him, though?
I think he may have gotten there.
And that will move the chains for the Dragons. Nice pickup for Van Ness. You see the dual threat there, or they're going to mark him just short.
Oh, that's a very troublesome spot for Pekin. On the initial look, I thought he might have gotten it, but a great job by him to make something out of nothing.
4th and inches.
Watch the quarterback sneak here if you're Dunlap.
That's exactly what it is. Van Ness, did he get there? We'll find out shortly. Dunlap saying that they stopped him short. And it looks like Pekin just got just enough.
Yeah, and it looked like, I couldn't tell 100% certainty, but it looked like that he initially took the snap, waited a second for that pile to create around the center, and he just ducked off to the left-hand side, maybe where there wasn't as much traffic.
Impressive patience. That's what you'd expect out of your senior quarterback. Ball marked at the 33 of Pekin.
I like what I'm seeing out of Van Ness early in this game, the decision-making outside the 1 interception.
The pitch outside. Tyler comes out of it. He's going to reverse the other way, stiff arms a man, and he's going to break a few more tackles to turn that into a gain. Oh, my.
What an effort. Able to cut it back the other way on the offensive side towards the Pekin sideline and still able to scrounge some positive yardage out of it. I guess maybe some positive inches would be a more appropriate term, but great job by him to avoid the loss.
Tyler, an explosive player for Pekin. It's just a matter of getting the ball into his hands. And now we're going to get a flag. Late hit on Dunlap. That's certainly not what you want. And that moves Pekin across midfield to the 48.
Looks like Pekin's going to go with 4 wide receivers here.
We're going to get the end of the first quarter first. And after 1, it's Dunlap 7, Pekin nothing. Thanks to a beautiful touchdown pass from Burke to Calhoun at the 2:09 mark of the first quarter. And we take this break to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by offering Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Nissan on Allen Road in Peoria. Test drive the latest exciting Nissan products, including the all-new 2021 Rogue and Sentra. Plus, save time and buy your car 100% online. Visit UfteringNissan.net today. And by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 for all your insurance needs. Zach Butler is your guy. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. 12 more minutes on the clock here in the first half. Dunlap with the lead, but Cody Pekin seemingly with the momentum.
Yeah, and it really started with that big run by Van Ness, the quarterback for Pekin. He was able to scrounge up about 9.5 yards, call it, because they did spot him a little bit short on a little bit of a quarterback sprint out, which last time they ran went horribly wrong for interception here on the near boundary. I think Pekin's starting to settle in, get rid of those early game jitters. I think we're going to finally see some great offensive side of the football executed well.
That is a big penalty on Dunlap that we saw just a few moments ago, a late hit after that wild play by Kanye Tyler. Moves Pekin across midfield, and obviously those personal fouls do a lot for momentum.
And Pekin will stay with their 4 wide receiver set.
Van Ness out of the pistol, and he loses the snap. He's going to recover, but get eaten up. Knocked back behind the 50. Well beyond the 45, that is. Looks like he's going to get brought down at the 44.
Yeah, and like we said, might be shaking off some of the early game jitters, but maybe not so much of the early season rust, as the center quarterback snap exchange went a little bit of a ride there for Pekin.
Van Ness is going to throw right away on the out route. Finds his man, it's Logan Buck. Couldn't shake the cornerback there. Looked like Irby on the coverage. Calhoun in on the tackle. Still a nice chunk of yardage, but a long way to go. 3rd and 13.
Yeah, that little hitch route just sets you up for 3rd and not necessarily manageable, but 3rd and 13 now. Give you a chance to take one more shot.
Van Ness escapes trouble to try and get that shot, and he's brought down in the backfield for a sack. Dunlap turns the tables after the personal foul, and Pekin is stopped short of midfield.
Yeah, some free runners into the lap. Your quarterback will do that, Larry. He even had to evade one of his own linemen in the backfield. Still a good job just to go down, secure the ball, not compile mistakes there. We'll go down as a loss of about 3.
A little bit of miscommunication leads to the Pekin special teams unit coming on. Looks like Gabe Calhoun back to return. The snap is high and the punt is off. Calhoun wants no part of this one. Bounces and takes a Pekin roll. It will be fielded at the 17-yard line of Dunlap. So long field to go for the Eagles, but they're ahead 7-0.
Yeah, and I'd be kind of curious to see what Dunlap's philosophy will be coming out here on their first drive here of the second quarter. Are they going to go back to that wishbone, or are they going to go back to the spread offense where they had some success with the touchdown pass earlier?
They went back to their traditional type offense with Burke under center. The 6-foot sophomore found Gabe Calhoun on a streak route, but a 25-yard touchdown pass. And it looks like Burke is once again out of the gun. Gore in the backfield with him. It's the give to Gore. Plows through a man, but the backup was there. Looked like a tackle by Caleb Cope. Braden Beckham there as well.
Yeah, just an outside handoff, trying to stretch the linebackers, get them flowing. That'll be, leave them more susceptible to a play action off of that. If you repeatedly have them go through that same motion with their eyes floating to the ball, as soon as that running back doesn't have the ball, that's when that quarterback's able to scan the field further down and try and take a shot.
Burke still looking for the sideline, or for the call from the sideline, that is. Dunlap going with a 3 wide receiver set.
Still a stacked box here for Pekin. They're going to make Dunlap beat him over the top.
Looked like somebody may have jumped, and Gore lost the football. It's loose, and Pekin is on top of it. Nothing but white jerseys. Gore coughed it up, and now Pekin is knocking on the doorstep.
Yeah, not necessarily a case of he zigged and I zagged. Just a fumbled exchange. Couldn't tell if they were trying to run a read option concept there on the defensive end. Instead, Dunlap coughing it up in the backfield. I don't think Gore even realized that his quarterback didn't have the ball.
That is a big turnover, Cody, and turnovers were something that sparked Pekin all last season when they rattled off that 6-game win streak. Their defense forced 16 turnovers in the final 6 games of the regular season. Not that that was forced, but obviously turnovers do a lot for morale.
Yeah, turnovers. I mean, Big Mo has definitely shifted sides towards Pekin here after that early touchdown pass.
There's the give to Tyler. He's going to bounce it to the outside and take it all the way. Touchdown, Dragons.
Great job by the Pekin offensive line opening up that huge hole on the right side. Nothing but daylight, and Pekin answering back in a big way.
Tyler with the 15-yard dash for the score, and the Dragons have the opportunity to tie it on the point after. Silencing the home crowd here at Dunlap. Things got quiet all of a sudden. The kicker is Buck, the hold, and he drives it through the uprights and good, and we're tied up at 7 apiece.
Folks, you likely saw the new player banners on the stadium. Those were a donation from Amy Weaver. Give it up.
Thanks for joining us tonight on ClutchSportsIL.com. Larry Larson alongside Cody Roskins, Joey Wright at the controls, Josh Schwam roaming the sidelines, Jonathan Michael on top of the press box operating the camera, Francisco Alonso working social media as well. It's a beautiful night for football. Good to be back, and we've got a good one early on.
Now for Dunlap, Larry, just kind of going through my thoughts here. He had success in the spread last time out. Granted, it was a missed exchange that cost them their drive. But to see if maybe they want to feel more comfortable going back to that traditional offense, like you said, out of the wishbone, trying to maybe hammer home some more runs. And we'll see if they can try and open up this Pekin defense, much like Pekin has opened up the Dunlap defense.
It'll be Buck once again to put a leg on it. And the kick is a line drive. It's like Calhoun fields it, skips, looking for some room, loses a man. He's to the 30, to the outside, and gets caught up just past the 35-yard line. A nice return for Gabe Calhoun, kind of creating something out of nothing.
Now we will see the Dunlap offense take the field. They will try and answer the answer, I guess, so to speak, from Pekin after the early touchdown drive in the first quarter. Pekin coming out after the missed exchange by Dunlap in scoring. So we'll see if we can finally see some consistency out of either offense starting here.
Will be interesting to see, and it's probably going to take more than 1 week, frankly, for these offenses to find their consistency. Looks like Dunlap's going to go back out of that wishbone triple option type setup. Dietz, the pitch. It's Silzer looking for the outside. No room.
And again, they go with that wingback toss. And everything about running the ball in football tells you run to the strong side where you have the numbers and you can get some people out in front of your blocker. That time they run it into the boundary, into the teeth of that Pekin defense, and they have shut down any perimeter run attempt so far. Great job by their defensive ends on their contain. That's job number one as a defensive end, is you have to shuck that tackler tight end and force everything back inside your tackle machines in the linebackers. Pekin again with a stacked box.
They go to Gore on the inside. Now he's got room. Runs through a man and tackled just short of the 50-yard line. It was Drake Hawkins in on the tackle to trip up Gore, and good thing he did because, boy, he was getting a full head of steam.
Yeah, speaking of all the daylight we had out here, Gore had nothing but daylight to get to the end zone, but the would-be tackler able to shoelace him up. And that's what that offense can do for you, Larry. You hammer it, you hammer it, you hammer it ahead for 2 yards, 1 yard, 2 yards, 3 yards, and sooner or later you finally bust one for some double-digit yardage.
It's only a matter of time before it happened for Mitchell Gore. The big fella, 240 pounds, standing at 6 foot. Dietz, the pitch, outside. It's Gully with a nice pickup of about 8. It was Orr there.
I really like what Dunlap did there. The quarterback initiated the pitch on the offense, but then he pivots around that offensive line. He's just scanning any sort of loose work he can find in that second level, third level of the defense to try and pick up and get a block, maybe spring his running back.
That triple option a lot of the time, Cody, is all about reads, and Dietz has read the defense pretty well, but Dunlap hasn't been able to find success in this formation until this drive.
Yeah, and that's one of the traits from both sides. On defense, especially as a linebacker, you have all these disciplines. And as the offense, you have to be very cerebral in your reads. I think so far just both teams are executing very well.
They go to Gore, runs it right up the gut. Is it enough for the first down? It is. Anytime you need short yardage, it seems like Mitchell Gore is a sure bet.
Well, 240 pounds go full head of steam. Just about anybody on this, Pekin defense might get you a few inches if you need it.
Dietz comes off the sideline with the play call. Dunlap really settling into a rhythm here with the ground game.
And again, they're going to put just two secondary members out there in the center of the field and on outside.
They once again go to the outside and pick up another big gain. It was Orr again. Dawson Reese on the tackle. It was Orr on the carry. And we've got a timeout taken by Pekin, their first of the first half.
I love this timeout by Pekin, Larry, and I'll tell you why. Earlier in the game, we saw with a huge stacked box coming, and now Pekin starting to rust away. I'm going to try and figure out what they can do scheme-wise, maybe pinch some of the nose tackles and ends.
We take this timeout to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Nissan on Allen Road in Peoria. Test drive the latest exciting Nissan products, including the all-new 2021 Rogue and Sentra. Plus, save time and buy your car 100% online. Visit UfteringNissan.net today. And by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. For all your insurance needs, give him a call at 309-347-3115. Zach Butler at State Farm in Pekin. We thank all those sponsors for their support of Clutch Sports Media all basketball season and now heading into week 1 of football season. It's a great matchup between the 2019 co-champions here at Dunlap and Pekin. Last year, Dunlap got the best of Pekin in a comeback victory. And it's been a close one so far. Gabe Calhoun with a touchdown reception for Dunlap in the first quarter. And Kanye Tyler with a 15-yard touchdown run at the start of the second quarter for Pekin. That's all the scoring in case you're just joining us.
We'll see what Pekin does adjustment-wise coming in here after the timeout. I'd like the idea of maybe sending some of your backers in that secondary. We haven't seen Dunlap really test you over the top outside the one touchdown pass. So I'm going to trust my corner and safeties, shut down their only receiving option. I'm going to send some heat here to try and fluster this offensive line.
There was a little heat, but they got it away. And almost busting one for long yardage was Silzer.
I believe that was Chase Frainer for, yes it was for Pekin. That's a great open field tackle. That's what makes your defensive coordinator coach very happy to see his his linebacker / secondary member able to come up, make a solid tackle.
We'll see what Brett Cazalet calls here, but it's got to be going back to the ground game. They are grounding and pounding. Dietz, the pitch, bounces to the outside. That was Orr on the carry. Pickup of about 5 yards. It just seems like every play they're able to get enough space to pick up at least 5.
I think a lot of that has to do with now Dunlap's offensive line is kind of set into a rhythm. They kind of know their steps, snap count. They're able to fire off the ball and get first contact. On the other side for Pekin, when they try and shoot the gaps here offensively, they're just getting caught in pulling guard situations, and as soon as you know it, the ball's going outside the tackle on offense, and you got a quarterback leading the way who picked up a pancake block on the last toss.
Dietz, a pretty big fella for himself at 5'11", 200 pounds. Under center here. Takes and gives to Gore. He doesn't get much of anything there. Pickup of about 1 yard for the senior. Makes it 3rd and 5. Big play forthcoming, especially for this Pekin defense. Because if you can pick up this stop, you can say you bend, but you don't break.
Exactly. And another thing to look out for here is that this defense for Dunlap has now been on the sideline for quite some time. They're going to be very well rested next time they have to take the field, whenever that will be. I'll be interested to see here what kind of defensive scheme will come up. Do you sell out and stop the run? And if you're Dunlap, do you anticipate that and maybe take a quick shot?
We'll see. They go under center again. Dietz on the give. Gore trying to keep his legs moving. And it looks like he got enough for the first down. And there you see Mitchell Gore once again. We talked about him a few minutes ago. That's the guy you want to go to.
Absolutely, Larry. If I'm running this offense, I'm feeding my offense through him because everything will work off of that. The play-action game, all the eyes sucking up the linebackers in the secondary. And, of course, you have the other options in the run game as well where you can bounce it outside with some speed.
1st and 10 from the Pekin 18 forthcoming. A slow and methodical Dunlap drive that started deep in their own territory at about the 25-yard line. Dietz to Gore, bounces off a guard and falls forward for a nice pickup of about 5.
And if you run that back, Larry, a lot of those further side defenders for Pekin went right after Dietz, the quarterback, as soon as he faked it out. I think they're anticipating maybe a keep there, and that's part of the discipline of defending this offense. There's just so many threats of where the different levels where the ball can go, and it can really hurt you if you're not careful.
Especially when you start to get tired. These are tired legs out on the field for the Dragons. Sun starting to set towards the west end zone here in Dunlap. The one that the Eagles are driving towards. It's Dietz on the keeper, and what a tackle that was in the backfield, and a little chippiness going on, and we're going to get a flag.
And this might be on Dunlap.
It looked like Drake Hawkins with the diving trip-up tackle. We'll see who the personal foul is on, but we saw a few hands to the face. Officials in discussions. This is a big call, Cody, and it looks like it is going to go against Dunlap.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see. I mean,
personal foul.
Personal foul is called against the Eagles.
Yep. So that's unfortunate to see there. I mean, Dietz didn't have a whole lot of space to work. It was a great play by the defense to force the stop. The would-be tackler took on the block, blew it up in the backfield. Dietz almost did a somersault before finally hitting the ground, and now this sets up a 3rd down and forever situation for Dunlap, and I'm not sure where they kind of go from here. May have to go to the air. Yes, 3rd down and looks like 20.
Ball gets moved back to the 30-yard line. So it will be scoreboard reads 2nd down, and it should be 3rd down, and now it is 3rd down and 21. Now Dunlap will run the spread.
A little more secondary help here for Pekin. They may be anticipating the pass.
Burke clapping his hands. And the whistles blow. Did Dunlap run out of time? They did. Delay of game will move Dunlap back another 5 yards to make it 3rd and 26.
Yeah, 3rd down and a country mile coming up for the Dunlap offense. You got to find a way to hit something on the edge here. I'm not loving the idea of a run game because a punt doesn't gain you much in terms of field position. So if I'm taking a shot here, I'm trying to get some chunk yardage because even if you don't convert, you'll be close for the field goal attempt. And who knows? We saw them go for it 4th down earlier in the game. Might see them roll the dice again.
Clock continues to wind down. Dunlap has chewed so much clock on this drive, which started at their 25-yard line. Done almost entirely by runs.
5 on the play clock, Larry. They might get caught again.
It's at 3, it's at 2, it's at 1, and the snap is off just in time. Burke airs it out, looking for the end zone. A little contact, but it's incomplete. The intended receiver was Gully, and on the coverage was Kanye Tyler.
Yeah, the hometown crowd not loving the idea of no penalty there, but I like the no call just because both players looking back for the ball. I mean, again, could have been lost in the sun a little bit. No egregious contact either. Let's let them play.
I agree, Cody. Good call by our officiating crew tonight. So now it looks like Brett Cazalet is going to send Burke back out there into the huddle, and they're probably just going to take another shot as the clock sits at 2:04 here in the second quarter.
Maybe look for a switch or scissor concept here. One out breaking towards the pylon and one maybe breaking in towards the goal line.
Burke steps up, looking down the left sideline. He's got a man, and it is
It might be intercepted.
broken up at least, and it's a complete pass.
Wow.
Gabe Calhoun able to haul that one in, and that's the reason you look for the senior in a situation like that. He's able to fight off the ball hawk, and Dunlap perhaps has new life. Or it looks like he might be coming back. Do we have a flag on the play? Little confusion as the incomplete
Yes,
pass.
okay.
A little confusion. It didn't look like he caught the ball, Cody.
No, I was looking towards the Pekin sideline, and you could see that far-sided players kind of throw their hands up like, yeah, we got one. And I was thinking as soon as the referee came running over and pointing his hand, I was like, wow, we may have had a heck of an interception. But instead, just as good of a play. Maybe even better because now you get way better field position out of it. And this Pekin offense is going to go right back to work with a minute 55.
They've got a minute 55 to drive the length of about 70 or so yards. We'll see what Wyatt Van Ness and company can do. Pekin has had limited success in the passing game. They give to Tyler, and he reverses, or it's a trick play, and it works out as Van Ness kept it. Fooled the broadcasters up here, or at least me. Gets to the 45-yard line. So Pekin not hesitating to run under 2 minutes left in the half.
Yeah, and that works because it moves the chains essentially, but unlike in college, the clock would still run. But I like what they did there. They had two offensive linemen pull towards the right. They sell everything out one way, got a mobile quarterback running back to the opposite side on a little bit of a concept. Not necessarily a read option, though.
Now it's Tyler. He's going to look towards the sideline. Couldn't quite get around the corner, but he gets out of bounds past midfield.
And now we're starting to see this offensive line of Pekin start to hum a little bit. You can feel the momentum kind of shifting back and forth. They have their steps, their rhythm down. I'm anticipating maybe one more shot here, get a chunk play. I mean, it'd be hard to argue against their ground game after the two last results.
Certainly, we've seen success of the ground game become a trend here in the second quarter. Pekin's only touchdown coming on a 15-yard rush by Kanye Tyler. That was our last score to tie it up at 7. Van Ness goes to Tyler, shakes through a defender, and that time he's tripped up in the backfield by Gully, who flexes for the camera.
And now I know it didn't net him much of anything. In fact, it lost some yards. But number 5 in white, Brody Key that time for Pekin had a stellar block, almost reminiscent of the blind side. Just take your man. He drove him almost back to the 30.
Now that clock continues to run. Pekin has 2 timeouts remaining. They don't use one here. Under a minute now.
Might watch out for some play action. Slip the H-back or a wide receiver over the top.
Van Ness fakes over the middle, and he's brought down in the backfield. And now Pekin is forced to take a timeout. There's that strong unit again that Brett Cazalet was telling us about yesterday. He said the defense was going to be the strongest of the team's 3 units, and that is really shown in flashes today.
Yeah, and I like what he kind of mentioned to us also. He was going to bounce between a 43 and a 34 defense, which really just changed the responsibilities of those outside linebackers. And that time they kind of sat back into a little bit of a hook zone, which is right over the side, or excuse me, right over the shoulder of the defensive end, taking away the slant option, which is what I anticipate Pekin was trying and target. And now Pekin's left scratching for answers on a 3rd and 18.
Crowd's getting fired up. Student section doing a good job of keeping everybody entertained during this Pekin timeout. On that sack was Cooper Henderson, the 6', 225-pound senior. Dunlap likes to switch between the 3-4 and the 4-3. Henderson always on the nose there. Got right through the Pekin offensive line, putting them in a bit of a situation. So the ball is on their own 47-yard line, 3rd and 18.
Now, if I'm Dunlap and I'm wanting to send pressure because I don't want to give the quarterback time to deliver one, I'm sending it from the short side of the field here. You see some secondary members stacked down. We may have some pressure, and they will back out of it.
Van Ness fakes the pitch, and he's going to take a shot downfield, and he's got a man, and he's going to go all the way for the Dragons touchdown. It's Logan Buck, and the Dragons have the lead in the final minute of the second quarter.
And that's one of the dangers of having your secondary closer to the line of scrimmage. Not that Dunlap was in terrible position that time. Just a great throw and catch and tremendous effort to slip the tackle and score.
Logan Buck, the senior, 2 seniors hooking up for 6. Pekin with a chance to go up 7 with 36 seconds remaining in the second frame. Logan Buck just scored the touchdown, and he cashes in the extra point. But wow, what a turnaround by Pekin, Cody, considering they allowed that long drive. The defense buckled down, got a stop in their own red zone. The offense turned around with the 2-minute drill, and they're able to score on 3rd and long.
The perfect definition of complementary football. Defense up your offense up your defense, and don't shoot yourself in the foot trying. But, I mean, we kind of showed towards it there on that second down play. We thought maybe they would take a shot. They did go to the air, but they were looking for something a little more short. Instead, they run it the very next play, shot over the top on a play-action fake after their ground game had gashed Dunlap for 2 decent runs on the opening 2 plays of the drive. So a great job by Pekin orchestrating some score.
Dunlap will have 36 seconds to work with and 1 timeout. Not a ton you can do here, but then again, you've got the outside threats like Gabe Calhoun, so you never know.
And we've almost seen him break one here on special teams. So we'll have to see if maybe they can try and get one close to the 40, maybe the 35. Set their offense with a real chance here to take a shot at the end zone.
Kaser just joining us. Pekin has scored the last 2 touchdowns in this game. First, a 15-yard run, by Kanye Tyler to tie up the game at 7, and then a Wyatt Van Ness touchdown pass to Logan Buck, as Gabe Calhoun makes it to about the 30-yard line. 27 seconds remain in the second quarter.
Yeah, no rhyme or reason on what's probably going to happen here either. You're going to see one of 2 things. You're going to see Dunlap sit on the ball, take it to the half. Or they might put on their wing-tipped shoes and take a shot at the end zone here to Calhoun, which I wouldn't hate taking 1 shot here just because Pekin doesn't have all their timeouts. They can't stop the clock on every play.
Cody, it doesn't look like they're going to take a shot, as they've got the wishbone personnel in there. Braden Dietz under center. Man in motion, the give to Gore, chugs up the middle. Picks up a gain of 3. And the clock is running and can run down to the end of the first half, and it looks like that's what will happen.
Yeah, and that's probably the right decision by Dunlap. Kind of sit on the ball. We saw them fumble an exchange earlier. Don't want to hurt yourself going into the half more. Or, excuse me, put yourself more of a hole than you already are. So I like the decision. Love it. An exciting second half coming back, Larry.
Pekin outscores Dunlap 14-0 in the second quarter to take a 1-touchdown lead into the halftime locker room in a battle between 2019 Mid-Illini champions. Cody, this has lived up to the hype.
It absolutely has, and like we said, the defense from both sides dictated the tone early, but offense from Pekin kind of showing more life there at the end of the half than Dunlap's did. And we'll be excited to see how Dunlap maybe plans to open up the second half coming back out.
We will take a break for a few minutes on Clutch Sports Media, but not before. We remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Uftring Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Nissan on Allen Road in Peoria. Test drive the latest exciting Nissan products, including the all-new 2021 Rogue and Sentra. Plus, save time and buy your car 100% online. Visit UfteringNissan.net today. And by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 for all your insurance needs. It's Zach Butler State Farm. Thanks for joining us tonight on ClutchSportsIL.com. Opening week of high school football in Illinois, and boy, is it good to be back. Pekin on top of Dunlap, 14-7 at the half. We'll be right back on ClutchSportsIL.com. Welcome back to Dunlap High School. It's the Pekin Dragons on top of the home team Eagles 14-7 in a battle of 2019 Mid-Illini co-champions. Larry Larson alongside Cody Roskins. And Cody, it started as a defensive battle. We saw some timely offensive play, but all things considered, it's been a great game.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say about this game other than the fact it's just been fantastic to the eye to watch? I mean, defensive side, you know, your old school enthusiasts of football are going to love the first quarter of action. Your offensive-minded folks are going to love the second quarter of action. And I think we'll find a very solid mixture of both as we open up the second half.
Quick scoring recap for you. Dunlap got things started on a Burke touchdown pass to Gabe Calhoun with 2:09 remaining in the first quarter to put Dunlap ahead 6-0. They would finish the extra point to go up by a full 7. And then Pekin scored 14 points to outscore Dunlap 14-0 in the second quarter. First on a Kanye Tyler 15-yard run with 9:18 remaining in the quarter. And then a Wyatt Van Ness bullet to Logan Buck. About a 30-yard pass with 30 seconds remaining in the second quarter to put the Dragons in front, which gave them the lead into the halftime locker room. Cody, we saw a good mix of run and pass for both sides, and really interesting to me was Dunlap's offensive approach. They started with that triple option type formation, then they went to the spread offense. They got that touchdown pass to Gabe Calhoun, and then they went back to the triple option, and they kind of got things going there near the end of the half.
Yeah, and that's situational play calling at its finest. I mean, you know your bread and butter is probably going to be that wishbone traditional offense that you stated earlier, but then they got a little behind the sticks. They got off schedule, and in that type of offense, it's so hard to create big plays that you have to kind of switch it up. So they went back to the spread for a couple of plays, able to find Calhoun into the end zone, and that's all well and good, but, you know, that's not their well. That's not where they're going to live and die by. They went back to the triple option there in the second quarter, and they pounded out some really great yards, just no way to cap off a drive yet.
They really have not been able to. They got that drive going, started on their own 25 and made it all the way past Pekin's 20-yard line before a few penalties, and things reversed the trend and eventually led to that Pekin touchdown. And they hold the lead 14-0. Dunlap will receive the second half kickoff. And Cody, as we move into the second half, let's pick out one key to the second half for both these squads.
Well, for Dunlap, it's going to be shoring up stuff on the defensive side. They had a lot of secondary misses there in the first half. They had too many blown coverages over the top and too many one-on-one losses in coverage. I think that's going to be a big key for them. And the Dunlap coaching staff, they've got to find a way to maybe a little bit more bump and run coverage. And now then on the Pekin side, you have to really look at their defensive line work. Dunlap was able to establish the ground game early there in the second quarter and kind of carry him all the way down into the short end of the field here near the red zone. And then it was just a late incomplete pass on a fourth down try that changed the field there. And that's how we got to our 7-point advantage for Pekin.
Will be interesting to see if Dunlap is able to kind of break it open a little bit more offensively in the second quarter. As we mentioned, they will receive the second half kickoff. Larry Larson alongside Cody Roskins, Joey Wright at the controls for us. Jonathan Michael on top of the press box roof. Josh Schwam is getting some great pictures of the game action for us down on field level. So be sure to follow at Clutch Sports Media on Instagram for a lot of great flicks after the game in this one.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone here in the booth was raving over the Gabe Calhoun touchdown catch there in the first quarter by Josh. And a lot of our crew does great work, especially Joey over here on the right-hand side of us on the controls for tonight.
Before we head into the second half, let's take a look at the head coach comparison for both these squads. Two very experienced head coaches, Doug Nutter in his 13th season, Brett Cazalet in his 12th. And Doug Nutter especially has really revitalized this Pekin program. They caught a share of their first conference title last season, their first since joining the conference in 2006, and Brett Cazalet has just led to dominance, or led Dunlap, to dominance in a conference that they really weren't competitive in a number of years ago.
Yeah, I think that just speaks to the coaching, on both sides. I mean, Dunlap exclusively, has become one of the powers in the conference, the Mid-Illini, and Pekin, one of those rising stars in the conference, so to speak. And we kind of said at the start, this could be the rubber match, the measuring stick game for Pekin to see just how far they've come over the extended offseason for Dunlap, seeing how they're going to try and season a very less seasoned squad when it came to game experience.
And our talk with head coach Brett Cazalet yesterday with Dunlap, he said that this is probably his youngest team in his 12 seasons here with the Eagles, but seems to be working out relatively well so far. We've seen a few mistakes, and especially on the personal foul side of things, we saw some chippiness in the first half, but I think that kind of speaks to the fact that both these teams are just fired up to get back out onto the field, and the intensity is going to be high. Yeah,
and how can you not be fired up to get back out here? I mean, it feels like a Friday night in fall. But, yeah, you do have to keep your emotions in check. Definitely when you get down here towards the red zone, the killer penalties have really stalled out Dunlap and the untimely fumbles and such like that. I have a feeling they'll be much cleaner here in the second half. This is where coaches make their money, is at halftime adjustments. So I'll be very curious to see how the secondary shores up for Dunlap on the back end. And for Pekin, if they can get back to that ground game attack and not rely solely on over-the-top shots.
We are now officially under the Friday night lights at long last. We missed them in the fall, and now we get them in the spring. A little more sunlight during Friday night football games this spring. That's going to be an interesting factor to watch. But, Cody, as soon as the sun set over the football field here at Dunlap, you felt that chill in the air, and it really does feel like fall.
Yeah, just a little bit of nip in the air, and I'm sure everybody here is more than happy to finally be back in the stadium enjoying it. And I'm speaking for the kids, both of us being former high school, players ourselves. There's nothing like it. These are the memories you'll cherish for a long time, especially in a COVID season where these kids finally get to carry out their year of football. Very excited for them.
We certainly are, and we're happy to be in the house at Dunlap. A special shout-out to Dunlap AD Katie Cazalet for having us here in Week 1. Logan Buck boots it away. Dunlap on the return, and they're going to be able to make something out of it. Looks like Logan Silzer is able to pick up a handful of yards there, and the Eagles will start the drive just past the 25-yard line. So decent field position, not too bad. We've seen them drive this length before.
Yeah, and I think if you're Dunlap, you have to treat this game again like it's 0-0. Get back to the basics. Let's start running the ball again. Gore had a great drive. He basically carried him down the field with the exception of the one long run. And we'll see how Pekin can answer on the defensive line, which kind of struggled later in that drive.
Braden Dietz, the senior quarterback under center. It's a man in motion, and the give to Mitchell Gore. Breaks through a tackle, and you see that low center of gravity, but he got tripped up just enough to get brought down at about the 31-yard line.
Yeah, just like we said, trying to go back to the well, trying to see what works here in the second half, and if Pekin has made any adjustments along that defensive line, maybe one more in the box or on the edge of the line of scrimmage, because the quarterback run game and sweep game kind of hurt him later in that first quarter.
It'll be 2nd and 7 from Dunlap's own 31. Dietz on the pitch. Bouncing to the outside is Orr. Slipped through a few tacklers and is brought down past the 35.
And again, we see that little toss play into the near side boundary. I think they may like their numbers going into this near side or any side of the boundary, really, where the short side of the field is. That time had a great offensive lineman pull, plug up a penetrating linebacker, and that enabled some lackluster pursuit that time by Pekin.
So 3rd and short. Cody, I think we're going to see a handoff here to Mitchell Gore.
Yeah, like we said earlier, it's hard to stop 240 pounds going straight at you. But Pekin has had some solid run defense and short yardage earlier in the first quarter. Kind of faded out in the second. But I fully anticipate maybe another quarterback sneak here or a handoff up the middle.
Dietz with Gore right next to him. It is a give to Gore, and he plows right through the line of scrimmage. Well past the 40-yard line, almost barreling to the 45. They're going to mark him down at the 40, but that's enough to move the chains, and Dunlap will have 1st and 10.
Yeah, and that'll make you smile if you're an offensive lineman seeing all the pancakes. It's finally pancake season, Larry. So we'll get to see some offensive linemen go to work. That's my favorite section of the field to watch. Just the hog mollies in the middle. The battle of the trenches is always so indicative of how a game can go. And we've had a very balanced game down there so far, which is why we have a 7-7 ball game.
Break out the butter and the syrup. Dietz sends a man in motion, gives to Gore, and he gets wrapped up just past the line of scrimmage. A nice tackle there by Braden Beckham, the sophomore not afraid of the big senior running back.
Yeah, and this drive kind of is reminiscent of the early Dunlap drives we saw in the first half, where a couple 2-, 3-yard, 4-yard carries, and eventually Gore or Dietz will hammer one to the edge and pick up double-digit yardage. We'll see if that's the case here. Still would not rule out a chance to go over the top to Gabe Calhoun. We haven't seen him much in that second quarter outside the one-drop pass on the far boundary.
You saw him in the center of your screen just a few moments ago. He's on the bottom of your screen. And they're going to go with the sweeping handoff to Orr. He got going, but a nice open field tackle by Chase Frainer.
Yeah, and what that does for this defense is, it stretches you sideline to sideline, but it shows that you're flowing well to the ball, not over-pursuing for a counter later in the game by Dunlap. And for Dunlap, you got to find a way to finally cut that. Put your foot in the ground, get north and south, and try and get some real yardage.
That sets up an Eagles 3rd and 6 from their own 44. We've seen the Dragons defense bend plenty, but it hasn't broken yet. Gabe Calhoun on the top of your screen. No face-to-face coverage. Now Dietz is going to drop back to pass, and he finds a man in Irby. And it's going to be 4th down. He's short of the sticks, well short. Kawan Irby, a good playmaker, able to avoid some tackles, but not able to dance around enough of them there. It looks like it's going to be 4th and about 1.
Yeah, and I like a chance to maybe roll the dice here. Defense played well. Granted, gave up 2 longer pass plays for scores. Maybe try and drop Pekin offsides here with a hard count. Try and steal another 1st down.
They're going to go for it. We'll see if we see another carry for Mitchell Gore. Play clock at 5, and it looks like Dunlap drew the call. Pekin jumps offside, so they don't even need to give it to Gore.
Yeah, and that's just knowing your personnel. You tell your offensive lineman in the huddle, sit, no matter what. And if we do want to run a play, it's normally a kill call. But a great job of the Dunlap offensive line not flinching. I think they might have gotten 3 or 4 Pekin Dragons to jump there. Great job by Dunlap.
And a shout out to their offensive line, the starters, Sam Morgan, Ryan Shuck, Tegan Damrow, Gideon Curry, and Eddie Council. Dietz, this time a pitch to Irby, and he's got some open field, but he is tripped up by Kanye Tyler. 2-on-2 crime there, and Tyler had to lay out to trip him up. A great move.
Yeah, great running alley, too, opened up by Dunlap, sweeping towards that far side, but another great job by Pekin. Just when it seems like there's going to be a surefire home run hitter, they close it down quickly.
Nonetheless, still a pickup of 2 yards by Kawan Irby, the 5'9 junior. Irby checks out of the game, and Silzer checks into the game. And we're going to take a timeout. It's Brett Cazalet burning that one. Dunlap, they had a bit of a mix-up with personnel there, so they burned their first time out of the second half. I bet Brett Cazalet isn't happy about taking that one.
No, and we saw both teams kind of have to burn timeouts in the late clock situation, especially Dunlap when they were attacking the end zone here late in the second quarter. They had to burn a couple of timeouts just to ensure they wouldn't get penalty yardage. But like we said, this is early season, first game, a lot of rust, a lot of nerves. I'm sure they're far from where they'll be in midseason form. But yeah, you have to take these timeouts to save your team some very valuable yardage in a game where defense has been very dominant.
It's a matchup between 2019 Mid-Illini co-champions, Dunlap and Pekin. And in last year's matchup, Dunlap got the best of the Dragons after Pekin was up a few scores going into the fourth quarter. A few late turnovers cost Pekin in that one, but then they snapped out of it the next week and started a 6-game win streak that got them into the postseason, got them a share of the Mid-Illini Conference title. They bring back much of that squad. We've seen some of that senior experience pay off. Wyatt Van Ness leading the offense. Up by 7. On the Eagles right now. But Dunlap on a march. 2nd and 8 out of the timeout.
Maybe look for a field stretcher here towards us here in the booth. Try and get trying to get your feet running towards that open side of the field.
They went to Gore. He tried to go right up the middle. Picks up 1, if that. Looks like it will be a gain of 1. And even if Gore just falls forward, that's enough to pick up at least a yard.
Yeah, and that's so valuable for an offense in which this style is time of possession, ball control, staying on schedule. You got to have these 3-4 yard carries to put yourself in manageable situations here like 3rd and 6. So your offense doesn't have to worry about playing behind the chains.
Dietz the snap, and he keeps it himself. He's in trouble, and he gets the pass off, juggled and caught by Gore. Tries to get to the sideline. That's going to be enough for a Dunlap first down. What a circus catch by the senior Mitchell Gore.
And I'm loving the play call. They fake the handoff up the middle. Quarterback buries it in his chest, acting like he doesn't have it. Initially, I think it was trying to be a screenplay setup, but they had Gore wide open in the flat, able to turn it upfield. Another first down, like you said, Larry.
1st and 10 on the Pekin 31. After Dunlap was scoreless in the second quarter, they're trying to come back and tie this game up. Now this triple option is really rolling. One of the first passes we've seen out of it. Now they're going to try for another one. Dietz is going to air it out, looking for Calhoun. That one's broken up.
And I know it's hard to not throw towards Gabe Calhoun, but towards the left-hand side of the field, maybe had the flag pattern out route, breaking open late. But again, it's hard not to throw at number 3.
Brings up 2nd 10 from the 31-yard line.
So Dunlap will have another shot. And Cody, I was frankly surprised to see them take a shot out of that formation because we didn't see that much at all in the first half. We saw pitches, handoffs, tosses out of that formation.
Yeah, like you said, Larry, we hadn't really seen that facet of the offense to this point. There wasn't much play action off it either. It's just a straight drop back, max protect.
Now the handoff goes to Gore, and he's got some open field. Shakes a man. He's at the 10, and he's brought down at the 10. That's not a man you want to see coming at you. And he gets the Eagles into the red zone and then some.
Now meeting him head-on-head in the open field is very much a business decision. What's going to be good for you in the long term, but a gashing run that time by Dunlap, and they've got it rolling. See if they can finally cap off one of these great chewing clock drives.
5 minutes and 10 seconds remain in the third quarter. This is the opening possession of the second half. Dunlap received the second half kickoff, and like you said, Cody, they've been chewing the clock. Man in motion. Dietz to Gore. Gore to the outside. Bowls over a man. Dives for the goal line. And he's in for 6. Dunlap can tie it up on the point after.
Great job by Gore using his man in front, directing him by the back of his jersey, plowing him into the member of the secondary, extends late, scores. And that's just a methodical Dunlap drive, Larry. Not much rhyme or reason to it. We're going to come at you and come at you hard.
The big fella, Mitchell Gore, having a big day. The opening game of his senior year. Point after attempt. The snap, the hold, and it sneaks just over the crossbar. But hey, looks the same in the scorebook, and we're all tied up at 14 apiece.
4:50 left to go in the third quarter. Our score is tied at 14.
We take this break to remind you that tonight's coverage is brought to you by Ufftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Ufftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, UfftringPekin.com. And by Ufftring Nissan on Allen Road in Peoria. Test drive the latest exciting Nissan products, including the all-new 2021 Rogue and Sentra. Plus, save time and buy your car 100% online. Visit UfftringNissan.net today, and who knows, maybe buy a car. And by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Thank all our great sponsors for their support throughout basketball season and now football season in Illinois. So, Cody, after all that clock chewing, Pekin finally gets to take the field, the offense that is, in the second half. Kickoff return is going to go to Tyler. Tyler's got blockers. He's up the middle. He's to the 40. He's got one man to beat, and he can't beat him. brought down past the 50, but what a kickoff return for the sophomore Kanye Tyler.
Talk about a blender of emotions. There's no worse feeling as a kick returner than being laced up by the kicker, but it's still a stellar return that time, and Pekin's going to have great field position to start this drive and an offense that was really humming towards the end of that second quarter.
Tyler, arguably one of the most explosive playmakers on this field tonight. He's gotten it done on both sides of the ball, offense, defense, and now special teams. Giving Wyatt Van Ness and company great field position in Dunlap territory. Van Ness, the 3-year starting quarterback. Looking for Doug Nutter on the sideline. Play clock at 5. They've got to hurry at 3 now. Play clock at 2. Play clock at 1. And they couldn't get it off. Flag on the play is going to be a delay of game against Pekin.
Yeah, not how exactly you want to start a drive after a stellar kick return, but nevertheless, Pekin, no harm, no foul. It's only 5. Still got a first down, all 3 downs in front of you here to try and pick this up.
Certainly not the way you want to start a drive, though. 1st and 15, that moves them back into their own territory at the 48.
I'd watch out for the H-back here, which is that back in front of the quarterback off to his right. Try and maybe sweep outside or search inside for some traffic.
Another flag. We'll see who it's on this time.
Looks like the offensive line of Pekin's marching backwards.
And it's a false start. Back-to-back flags on the Dragons to start the drive. You want to talk about a momentum killer if the Dragons even had any after that Dunlap score. 1st and 20 from their own 43 forthcoming.
They'll stick with 3 wide receivers, twins to the far side.
Fake to Tyler. Van Ness is going to air it out down the field. Has a wide open buck. He had it in the breadbasket, but couldn't finish the catch. Almost.
Yeah, that's so unnerving as a wide receiver knowing you've shaken your man. In fact, he even left him on the ground, but still not able to haul it in. The throw was low, so we'll give him that, but wow, what a missed opportunity by Pekin.
You hear the student section chanting Butterfingers. Oh, the sounds of football. It's good to be back. Now it's 2nd and 20. Van Ness is going to keep it, and he's wrapped up at the 40. That's going to be a loss of 4. How about this Dunlap defense?
Yeah, talking about sure tackling. Had him up around the knee, not letting him go. Gave him a little bit of the gator roll towards the end. Solid tackle. Pekin just moving in the wrong direction.
It's been a tough start to the second half for the Dragons, allowing a long clock-chewing touchdown drive, capped off by a Mitchell Gore touchdown run to tie the game at 14 for Dunlap. Now they've struggled on offense. 3rd and long. Van Ness checks down to Tyler. Tries to tiptoe around the sideline. And he's going to be marked out at just about the 50-yard line. And we've got an injured Eagle down on the field.
Brings up 4th and 14 for the Dragons.
Looks like it could be a lower leg injury, maybe a cramp.
Yeah, I'd probably anticipate a cramp, excuse me. I mean, you hate to speculate any injury, but first game of the year, not used to exerting yourself this much, especially this late in the day. So hopefully nothing too serious.
And that's one thing going from practicing for 10 days right into the season, Cody. Unfortunately, we could see a handful of injuries.
Yeah, and we've been lucky today. I mean, I believe this is our maybe first or second injury stoppage, but both teams relatively healthy coming into today, and not too much wear and tear on either side of the ball with the two offenses chewing a ton of clock for their defense.
All right, folks, he's out.
The injured player is up and helped to the sideline. It's Ryan Shuck for Dunlap. Walked off under his own power. Always good to see that. Not too serious. So it'll be 4th and long forthcoming for the Dragons, and they're going to be forced to punt.
Yeah, you're too far out to really pull anything in the terms of a trick play here out of your punt formation. Got to trust your defense, which has played very solid to this point, and trust they'll get you the ball back.
Gabe Calhoun back deep to return for Dunlap. The snap is high, and Buck barely gets it off. It may have been partially blocked. It's a pop-up and takes a Dunlap bounce.
A loss of 2 on the punt.
Yikes. Not what you want. Moves the sticks forward for Dunlap.
At the 46-yard line.
Not every day you see that.
No, and that's the second snap we've seen kind of go wayward. We had one in the first quarter out of the shotgun kind of go over the head of the offense, that time for Pekin, and this time, I think that high snap was all the time that Dunlap really needed to chase that down. If he gets a good snap there, it probably gets off.
Season opener for both these teams who shared the Mid-Illini Conference title last season, well over 400 days ago. Dietz the snap, the handoff to Gore. He spins forward for a gain of a half yard.
And Pekin's just got to start finding a way to jam up the inside A, B, and C gaps of that offensive line. A being in between guard center, B being between guard tackle, and C anything from tackle outside. So we got to find a way to jam it up and read the quarterback, and that's where your sideline and even your secondary has to kind of shout it out, you know, what phase we're in. We're going to be in the fullback. You just kind of have to let your linebackers know because they're flowing to the ball whatever they see.
Dunlap has gotten things to go well for him on the ground and in the air. Out of this wishbone formation. Dietz under center. He's going to drop back to pass. Gabe Calhoun on the bottom of your screen. Dietz was looking for him. Now he's going to run it himself to the 30, and he's blown up. A flag is down, and Dietz is down. His helmet came off there. The officials continue to throw flags. That's not what you want to see. The hometown fans are fed up, but a big hit was levied there by Xavier Wisely, and he might get disqualified from this game.
Yeah, you have to kind of assume anytime a helmet pops off like that, it may be leaning towards a targeting call, which you would hate to see. But wow, I mean, what an effort by him to get out of the pocket, but we got to hope he's okay.
Oh, boy. Dietz is down, and he is down, and you hear the Dunlap student section booing Pekin. And coaches are running down to the end zone to, I think, corral the Dunlap sophomore or freshman team who is yelling at the Pekin sideline. So, Cody, what this is going to do, other than the fact that it's likely going to knock Dunlap starting quarterback Braden Dietz out of the game, it's going to fire up both teams. I think we might see some chippiness.
Yeah, and this was a game that was already chippy in the first half. So, I mean, you still have to keep your emotions in check. You got to play for somebody, and hurting your team with senseless penalties will do anything but that.
Call is personal foul, helmet-to-helmet contact against Pekin. And unsportsmanlike also against Pekin.
You hear the call from the PA announcer. 2 penalties against Pekin. That's going to...
That'll put him in the goal-to-go situation.
Going to send Dunlap well down the field, but our attention is focused on Braden Dietz right now, still down on the Pekin sideline. Of course, we don't focus the camera on that out of respect for Dietz.
Yeah, and just to kind of go off that, just so we give Dietz the time he needs, Larry, some talking points here. If we kind of give a recap to the game to this point, I mean, Dunlap was firing on all cylinders coming out of that first half intermission. Drove all the way down the field, scored. Defense got the ball back, and it looks like he's up.
Dietz is up under his own power, remarkably. Because, Cody, I don't know what you saw from your angle. We're standing right next to each other, but obviously he was blown up. His helmet came flying off. If you want to rewind the broadcast, that was quite the hit, but helmet-to-helmet contact, never good, and he was down in a heap.
Yeah, and again, it happened bang, bang. You hate to hear that cliche all the time, but this kind of looked like came in fast and hard like you're always taught, but helmet drop, shoulder pad drop. Of course, Dietz's helmet popped off as a result, and you have to kind of always suspect that's helmet-to-helmet. And so, like to side on the air of caution, and penalties like that will help deter future attempts at such contact.
We hope Dietz is okay, but we would not be surprised if we did not see him for the rest of this contest. Pekin and Dunlap tied up at 14 apiece. Pekin scoring all 2, I should say both of their touchdowns in the second quarter.
And this should put Birkin at starting quarterback, if I'm not mistaken,
yes.
Larry.
Dunlap cashing in a touchdown to tie it at the 4:52 mark of the third quarter. And Dunlap once again knocking on the door, and this does put Madden Burke in under center. The sophomore takes over for the senior. He's under center, gives to Gore. Gore up the middle. Doesn't have much space.
Mitchell Gore straight ahead.
Looks like he'll pick up 1 or 2.
Yeah, and that's a smart move. Just go right up the middle. Let's establish that offensive line again after that stoppage from the injury timeout. Clock is chewing down to about 2:25 here, so this third quarter has been heavily in time of possession in favor of Dunlap.
That's what you get when you're grounding and pounding, and the Eagles certainly are doing that. 2nd and goal from the 3.
And the hometown clamoring for some muscle-on-muscle touchdown yardage.
We'll see if they go back to Gore. Some jumping before the snap. Dunlap says it's on Pekin. And it looks like the officials agree. It's offsides on the Dragons.
Pekin just can't get out of their own way here defensively. The ball sits now just in between the 1 and 2 yard hash marks.
And it's 2nd down.
If I'm Pekin, I'm selling out. You're sending everybody towards the offense, or excuse me, towards the line of scrimmage on all facets. You don't want to cram specifically up the middle because quarterback always has a threat to keep. But I'm selling out to stop the run here. Gore's been on a machine here in the third quarter.
Gore is behind the quarterback, Burke. It's back to Gore. And he's in for the score. His 2nd touchdown, and Dunlap pulls back into the lead.
Well, the hometown crowd was clamoring for it. They wanted to see some power football right up the middle. They get it. Touchdown Dunlap, and a very physical drive on both ends from both teams. Separates us by a touchdown again, this time in favor of Dunlap.
So it's back-to-back touchdowns for Mitchell Gore. First at the 4:52 mark of the third quarter, and now here. And the extra point is up and good. A little more room for comfort than the last one, and Dunlap is ahead by 7. Have a night, Mitchell Gore.
Yeah, Mitchell Gore has been everything so far for this Dunlap offense. A lot of their stuff they like to do runs through him, especially in the passing game. We saw him catch that screen pass earlier. They like to run play action off of it, and of course, he's a feature back in the ground attack.
We've seen him so good in short yardage situations, but even the long yardage situations, we've seen him get involved in the passing game and a number of other facets.
And now we'll have to see how Pekin responds. Of course, their defense was kind of reeling there on that last drive by Dunlap. We'll see how their offense can maybe return the favor here on offense and try and grind out some clock and score. Maybe level this thing at 21 as we head into the 4th frame here.
All the momentum is favoring Dunlap right now. A long drive, 2 long drives in this third quarter. So after Pekin scores 2 touchdowns in the 2nd and holds Dunlap scoreless, the Eagles have returned the favor here in quarter number 3. The Eagles have about a minute and a half to change that before the frame flips to 4. Dangerous kick return threats back deep for the Dragons, so it's a squib kick. Picked up by Logan Buck. Buck bounces to the outside. Can he get around the corner? Yes, he can. He's at the 50, looking for blocks, jumps over a defender, and gets all the way to the Dunlap 40-yard line. Back-to-back great kick returns by the Dragons. Credit to their special teams unit.
Yeah, and we thought Dunlap's weak point would be kind of their special teams unit, and we've kind of seen a little bit of that so far today. But hopefully Pekin able to execute after the kick return much better than they did the last time out.
Wyatt Van Ness leads the charge for the Dragons out onto the field. How do they respond?
Like a heavy dose of the ground game here. Let's get this thing started up.
And they do go to the ground. Van Ness on the keeper, spins through a tackle, and he's brought down short of the 35. Nice elusive move by the senior quarterback. Gain of 4.
Yeah, I like getting your playmaking quarterback in some space with some room to operate. I think they're starting to key in on that. They've kept it with the quarterback more often than not than they've handed it off, which is going to be hard to sell when you finally do want to keep it for real yardage.
Pekin runs the no huddle. They immediately throw it out to Buck. And he is going to be past the sticks. So Logan Buck enough to get the first down for Pekin. And now it looks like they're really in a rhythm.
Yeah, quick hitting route, able to extend, get some run after the catch or rack. We'll see if they go back to the ground game here or try and run some play action off it in some shot territory.
Here's the pitch to Tyler, looking for space, making space, and he's brought down just short of the yardage marker at the 20-yard line.
Yeah, and that's the second time we've seen that halfback toss out of the shotgun. It looks like we may have a downed eagle.
Another downed eagle. They've been beat up by injuries. First, a cramp on a member of the defensive unit. Then Dietz was lit up on a helmet-to-helmet hit. Now another eagle is down in a heap, and this might be the same one. Looks like another cramp, possibly.
Yeah, a little auspicious going down on the stretch play, maybe overextended just a little bit. But just going back to that play call as we try and zone it back in. It was a nice halfback toss that time out of the shotgun, able to get some lead blockers in space. And I loved how he put his right foot in the ground, cut upfield, was able to get 9.
29 seconds remaining in quarter number 3. Dunlap has scored back-to-back touchdowns to take the lead after Pekin was ahead 14-7 in the halftime locker room. Looks like the injured party is Jason Stone, 5'11" sophomore, walks off under his own power. Always good to see. And now Cody with that long delay, or I should say extra delay, that kind of makes things interesting for the Dragons because they had all that momentum going for them. The offense was really firing on all cylinders. Now it looks like they might just wind this thing down to the end of the quarter.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that you say just because of that long break. I think they're more content to maybe talk about what they want to do to try and cap off the drive, because now he has that almost a free timeout, if you will, shortened but free nonetheless, to kind of talk to both sides of his unit. He's saying, hey, guys, once we score and punch us in, we need the ball back quick because we're going to want to go to work, chew some clock, and not give Dunlap any time to answer at the end of the fourth.
So Dunlap heads to the fourth quarter, up 21-14, outscoring the Dragons 14-0 in quarter number 3. And we take this break to remind you that tonight's presentation of ClutchSportsIL.com is brought to you by Uftring Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Nissan on Allen Road in Peoria. Test drive the latest exciting Nissan products, including the all-new 2021 Rogue and Sentra. Plus, save time and buy your car 100% online. Visit UfteringNissan.net today. And by our friend Zach Butler in Pekin. Zach Butler State Farm. Call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Getting set for the fourth quarter in Dunlap. It's been a good one between the 2019 Mid-Illini co-champions and Cody Roskins. These two teams definitely look like reigning conference champions. Considering it's week 1 of the season, they've both played, all things considered, very well.
Yes, that's an excellent point. You know, prefacing that this game 1 of the year, I'm sure they're far from what they'll look like in midseason form. But you like to see how both offenses have kind of found the rhythm here in the second half.
Kanye Tyler slips through a tackle at the 10, bounces outside and steps out of bounds. But how about the elusiveness of Kanye Tyler? We've seen it all night and almost earned him a score there.
Yeah, two contrasting styles from the two feature backs from both offenses. You get the very, shake and bake style here from Pekin and the power ground game from Dunlap on the other side. So you really like to see how they contrast each other, but both styles working well here against defenses that were really stout in that first half.
Van Ness out of the gun with Tyler in the backfield with him. Hard count, and now he looks to the sideline.
Maybe look for a play action here, or that H-back sneaking out of the backfield as a lead blocker or receiver.
There's the give to Tyler. can't find a ton of room on the inside. And Cody, we have not seen him run the ball on the inside a lot. We've seen him bounce it out to the outside a fair amount, but his running style is more in the open field.
Yeah, and we saw in warm-ups at least that Pekin had that inside power game option where they could pull a couple guards, tackles, and of course the H-back to be a funnel runner or a kick-out man on any loose trash for the defense. But here, I think they're kind of planning on Dunlap was collapsing the offensive line early and often, and so they're really trying to hit that edge yardage.
Van Ness, the fake give, and he finds Logan Buck over the middle. Touchdown, Pekin. Logan Buck once again. That's his second receiving touchdown of the night.
Yeah, maybe not quite.
Oh, man. Is it not a touchdown?
I thought
it is. It is a touchdown indeed. So
yep.
Pekin is an extra point away from tying this one up. Back and forth we go.
Yeah, not quite maybe an RPO action, but of course the run pass option, either hand it off, quarterback can keep it or throw. A little play action fake, freezes the safety, one-on-one coverage on the backside. Great job by Pekin execution.
And Buck drives it through the uprights, and good. Tied up once again at 21. Before the kickoff, we want to take this break to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Nissan on Allen Road in Peoria. Test drive the latest exciting Nissan products, including the all-new 2021 Rogue and Sentra. Plus save money and buy your car 100% online. Visit UfteringNissan.net today. And by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. For all your insurance needs, it's Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin.
I'll be curious to see, Larry, after this kickoff, if Dunlap is going to stick with that power run game out of the wishbone, because we saw them switch it up with the backup quarterback in earlier in the game and go to that spread look. Does that change anything in the offensive play calling department for them?
Will be interesting to see. The momentum is shifted kind of based on quarter here, Cody. In the first quarter, we saw Dunlap score the only touchdown, a Gabe Calhoun touchdown reception. Then in the second quarter, Pekin outscored the Eagles 14-0. In the third quarter, Dunlap returned the favor 14-0, and now Pekin is on the board to start the fourth. Dunlap returner looking for space. Gabe Calhoun couldn't quite get to the 30-yard line, but tried to make something happen in the open field, and Dunlap will have to drive about 70 yards.
Yeah, and this is playmaker time. You have about 11:03 left on the clock here, so the fresh fourth quarter clock essentially. We know Dunlap style. They're going to want to chew this down to about the 4-minute mark and end the drive with a PAT. So it'll be interesting to see if Pekin's defense can finally rally to the ball here in the second half and force a stop. I'd be curious to see if Pekin, again, crowds the box and tries to cram the middle. If they want to try and play the edges more where they've been burned slightly.
Looks like the Eagles are once again running the wishbone formation with Burke under center. Gives to Gore, and he falls forward through the line of scrimmage. Looks like it's going to be a gain of 2. Gain of 2 for Gore, who's been very productive today. The senior back, weighing in at 240 pounds, has picked up 2 touchdowns in his senior year debut.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bet you could see a lot more doses of it on this drive. They're going to hammer him home right up the middle. Maybe try and hit him in that C gap. They had it earlier when they were coming down here in the first quarter and scored on a 10-yard run.
This time they hand off to the outside. Or with space to the 50. He's tripped up. Lost the football, but he's going to be marked down before he coughed it up. But Braden Orr found green space, and Dunlap is across the 50.
Yeah, all that motion there with the wing back in the first half maybe starting to pay off as they send him in motion this time. Fake the handoff to the up back and able to hit to the outside for a big gain.
Folks, we have some scores from around the Mid-Illini, third quarter scores.
We'll take a listen to the out-of-town scoreboard on the PA.
It's Washington 28, Limestone 8, Canton 20, Morton 13, and Metamora 36, East Peoria 0.
Metamora returning to dominance, perhaps. Maybe we'll see them on our ClutchSportsIL.com schedule later this season. Drive in progress for Dunlap. The pitch.
Oh, look at that downfield blocking, Larry.
And he's got room. He's to the 30 and brought down at the 30. A nice run by Logan Silzer.
Just great job by the men in gold, selling out for their wingback, getting down the field, and of course the quarterback who's playing as the backup saw his starter get lit up. He's coming down, and he's starting to lay some wood.
Braden Dietz, the quarterback, the senior starter for Dunlap, injured on their last drive that ended with a touchdown. A 1-yard touchdown run by Mitchell Gore. Dunlap looking to retake the lead. Putting together a nice drive, driven by the ground game all night. Burke, hands off to Gore. Didn't get much of anywhere. Gain of 1.
Yeah, and you got to think with starting quarterback Dietz out of the game, they're going to key even more in on him, and they're going to try and let this backup quarterback try and sling the rock over the top, off the side, maybe come away with a turnover. They're going to force him to try and beat him. They do not want to have Gore be the reason they lose this game.
Brett Cazalet, I'm sure, is going to lean more towards the ground game, especially if Dunlap finds itself in a position with the lead late in this one. If they can score on this drive and pick up a stop, I wouldn't be surprised to see them not pass for the rest of the game. And the hometown crowd was looking for a flag, or it was a timeout taken by Dunlap before the delay of game. Parents were yelling for a snap, it sounded like, and Brett Cazalet forced to burn another timeout. Dunlap with just 1 remaining while Pekin has all 3. That could certainly play to the Dragons' advantage down the stretch.
Yeah, the ability to stop the clock, especially against a team like Dunlap, which loves to have the advantage in time of possession, could really be crucial coming down the stretch. Like we said, Pekin will score with ease, not necessarily, but they won't chew a ton of clock trying to do it. Dunlap, in their hand, they want to be able to chew a lot of clock, chew a lot of field, and give you less than a minute to score. I'll be curious to see, though, Larry. We haven't seen a big quarterback pull yet out of this wishbone, which is always a huge facet of this offense. If you've ever watched some old school Navy, Army, or Air Force football, they've always got those quarterbacks that can just slip out, follow a lead blocker in the up back, and try and score it out for a big gain. We haven't quite seen that yet, but it's hard not to hand the ball off to Gore.
And Cody, you bring up a good point, because the injury to Dietz has really kind of taken the quarterback running out of the playbook for Dunlap. Not to say that Burke isn't mobile, but we have not seen him run with the football.
Yeah, a lot less designed quarterback run. We saw a little bit of quarterback sweeps there in the first half. We'll try to see if they maybe stray towards more of the passing game. And here it is.
Here it is. Burke steps up, looking long, and it's picked off. Interception by guess who? Kanye Tyler. Have a game, young man. The sophomore ball hawk goes up to get it. And it's Pekin football. They'll have the chance to drive the length of the field to take the lead, but they'll have to do just that. The ball is going to be marked on the 1-yard line.
Yeah, and that's just an underclassmen mistake there. He had safety over the top. If he just would have put it on him a little quicker, he might have had a chance to run with the ball after he caught him. Instead, it floats up in the air a little long, allows the safety to get back into the play, jump the route. Still a heck of a play by Pekin on the back end, but like you said, Larry, they're going to have to go essentially 98, 99 yards here to try and put some points on the board against a defense that we've seen a lot of tackles for loss so far.
But now it's a tricky situation for the Dragons. Great play by Tyler. Like you said, Cody, they're now pinned up against their own end zone. So we'll see if Dunlap sends the house.
This has got to be a straight-ahead run here. You can't risk anything with a pulling guard and letting a linebacker fire in.
And a flag is down.
This might move him back just that much further.
False start on Pekin. They don't have anywhere to go.
Nope, ball spotted just inside the 1.
Backs him up to the 1-yard line.
They're going to pack it in tight with that H-back. Look for an inside handoff here.
Van Ness still out of the gun, takes the snap. He's going to sling it out wide. The pass is complete. Looks like Drake Hawkins, and he's brought down, but that gets the job done, Cody. Gets them off the 1 yard line, so that now they've got a little less to worry about.
Yeah, a little bit of breathing room there, and initially I would have thought, the inside handoff, try and get your quarterback, a low-risk opportunity here. But a nice bubble route that time underneath the coverage. I was getting a little bit of space. Great job by Dunlap, though, to corral it quickly. That could have gone for big yardage.
No huddle for Pekin. Van Ness slings it out back wide. It's Buck fighting through the tackle, and he's brought down at about the 10-yard line. Will it be enough to move the chains? It will not. So it'll be 3rd and short for Pekin.
Well, in the short yardage situation for Dunlap, on their offense side of the ball, they're either going to go or a quarterback sneak. We haven't seen much under center action from Pekin tonight, if any. It'll be interesting to see if they want to go inside run here where they didn't have much success in the first half, or they like their chances on the edge.
Kanye Tyler in the backfield with Van Ness, and Van Ness is going to keep it himself. Quarterback sneak, dove for it. We'll see if he got it, and he does. The official signals to move the chains, and it's 1st and 10 for Pekin.
So that'll be interesting to note, Larry. If they get down in 4th and short yardage situation, is that going to be the play they like down near the goal line? They're going to want that direct snap with that running back being an extra lead blocker in the B gap to try and clean up anything from the linebacking core that's trying to shoot the gap.
It has worked well for him in a few scenarios tonight. Not the first keeper we've seen from Van Ness. This time he's going to pitch out wide. And that play is blown up. Doomed from the start. Tyler was wrapped up at the 8-yard line.
And another great job by Dunlap's defensive ends. They've been great on contain so far today. That's your first job as a defensive end. You have to extend outside that tackle and force everything back in towards the interior. But, I mean, if the ball carrier wants to run right into your lap, all the more pleasure to you.
That'll make it 2nd and 14. Loss of 4 on the run by Tyler. Or more accurately, a great play by the Dunlap defensive front. Play clock at 5 now. Van Ness has got to hurry. It's at 4. It's at 3. Play clock at 2. Van Ness gets the snap off. And here's a run. It's Tyler.
Well, down goes an official.
That's never what you want to see. Kind of got caught up in the middle there. Looks like he's okay. If you're a player, what are you supposed to do? You're looking upfield, and in the case of Tyler there, you're looking to dodge gold uniforms, and all of a sudden there's a zebra.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it, Larry, but looks like one of those football folly plays almost. You just wrong place, wrong time. I mean, the official's doing his job. That's his job, is to watch anything from the offensive line. If any offensive linemen get extended downfield for an ineligible man, any holding calls, obviously. But just, okay, so the wrong place, wrong time.
Brings up 3rd and 3.
So after a bit of a comedic play, it's a serious play for the Dragons here. 3rd and 3 deep in their own territory. Van Ness out of the gun. He's going to sling it out wide, and the pass is broken up. A great job by Gabe Calhoun, the cover corner. We've seen him do his job great on the offensive side of the ball. And he comes up with a big play on the defensive side, and Pekin will be forced to punt with 5:25 remaining in the 4th. This one's going to come down to the wire.
Yeah, and just going back to that play call and the result, they're frankly really lucky that's all that happened. Calhoun could have easily snatched that out of the air and ran it back, but a great job of extending the outside hand while not interfering with the receiver to break it up.
The punt by Buck is going to bounce at the 50 and take a Dunlap bound, and now reverses back the other way as the Dragons, you see, trying to wave the football forward a little bit. But all things considered, not a bad punt. Dunlap will take over at the 47-yard line with 5:24 remaining, tied up at 21. It's a battle between 2019 Mid-Illini co-conference champions. And we take this break to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Visit UfteringPekin.com.
Now, Larry, if I had to guess, I'm assuming Pekin would love, if Dunlap would love nothing more to go on a 5-minute drive here and punch this into the end zone. I would anticipate a lot of ground and pound here with maybe one more play action if they get near the red zone.
It's well within their capabilities. Burke under center. Hands off to Gore, and Gore is tackled for a loss.
Gore right down the backfield.
A rarity
Loss of
tonight.
play,
Mitchell Gore has been a force to be reckoned with, needless to say. He's got 2 touchdowns, likely well over 100 yards rushing. We don't have the tally up here, but he's had a big night, but credit to the Pekin defensive line for wrapping him up there.
Yeah, great job of shedding blocks at the point of attack. That run looked like it was designed to go outside, but it's hard to go outside when there's no blocking for you to head that way. Great job by Pekin to corral the interior ball carrier.
Play clock under 10 at 7 seconds. Ticking down to 5. Burke takes the snap, goes back to Gore, and Gore's got open field. Nothing but artificial turf in front of him, and he's chased down. A great come-from-behind tackle by Chase Frainer. Saves the touchdown, but now Dunlap moves into the red zone. Mitchell Gore with a bounce-back run.
Yeah, and it's all about shifting eyes from this wishbone offense. Able to slant him towards the left. Instead, it was a keep up the middle by Gore. Nothing but artificial turf, like you said, Larry, and a little bit of smashing grass action. So he was able to stampede his way all the way to the 12. Now maybe look for again. Don't love the idea of your quarterback throwing the ball after the takeaway. How much do you trust him to put it in the air here?
Now we'll have another injury timeout. Same player that we saw earlier go down for Dunlap. It's Tegan Damrow, the center. He suffered some cramps earlier and suffering what appears to be more cramps now. Again, it kind of goes back to players working out the kinks, not only with the playbook, but physically.
Yeah, and again, it's game 1 of the year. These kids are far from where they'll be condition-wise in the next couple of weeks. It's just harder in this later season where, like you said, they only had about the 10 days to get conditioned and in shape for this game. So both ends of the ball, I'm very surprised we haven't seen more cramping up until about this point. But the sun has gone down, so it's colder. Muscles get a little more contracted and tight. It was just bound to happen at some point.
Damrow is helped up. Good to see him walk off the field under his own power. He is the center on this offense, so certainly a big piece. We'll see if Dunlap runs into any trouble because of a possible absence.
Yeah, and a lot of times in this wishbone offense, of course at the high school level, not as much control, but definitely a lot of say in the blocking scheme of that offensive line. A lot of schools who run the similar style offense. So you got to think the sooner they can get him in, the better.
Play clock runs, and it's Burke under center. Gore directly behind him. Obviously has been a player to watch all night. Play call hasn't come in from the sideline, and now it does. The give to Gore. Gore falls forward for a hefty pickup. Looks like about 5.
56 back him in again on the tackle.
Now you're in a tricky situation here if you're Dunlap. Obviously at this point you just want to punch it in, but they're still in a position here to try and stretch out this clock well under 3 minutes. It's currently sitting at about 3:35 right now. Gotta like the idea of the ground and pound offense.
2nd and 5 from the 7. Clock is going to start to become a factor. Dunlap continues to stay out of the end zone. It's a fake give to Gore. Burke keeps it himself, but it doesn't get him much of anywhere. Pickup of about 2.
Yeah, that might be the first quarterback, undesigned keep that we've saw. It's the second facet of that offense. First one, like we said in the first half, is you fake the handoff or either give it to the up back. In this case would be Gore. That second option is the quarterback keep. And, of course, we haven't seen the third option yet, which would come on a pitch on the motion back coming around Gore before the pre-snap.
Arguably the 2 biggest defensive plays of the game forthcoming for Pekin. If they can get a stop, that 4th down is also going to be big. 3rd and 3 from the 5. Play clock at 3, play clock at 2 for Dunlap. They get it off. Little confusion. Burke never got the handoff away, and he is whipped down to the ground, and that results in a penalty.
And it looks like he might be down as well. Oh, he's getting helped up now, so that's good to see, but a killer penalty here for Pekin. You just can't have it. You know the whistles are being blown. You got him for a loss. You just have to let up.
Officials will flag Pekin for that tackle after the whistle, and that gives Dunlap a goal-to-goal situation.
That's another
goal
one.
To go. Wow.
Another penalty. Maybe something was said by the Pekin defensive unit.
A meltdown in discipline for the Dragons. Here in the least ideal time, 2:23 on the clock. Back-to-back what could be personal fouls. It's already first and goal from the 5. We'll see what the call is.
Let's be unsportsmanlike.
And that player is ejected. Number 38 has been ejected. And on our roster, that's Isaac Lawler. Lawler, the senior, gets ejected in his first game of his senior year.
Not ideal.
Not great. Not what you would want to start your senior year with after waiting well over 400 days to take the field again.
Now, the thing this does for Dunlap is now that they have it first down, once again, and if they were to not gain another yard, this would be nothing more than essentially a PAT. So it's not out of the realm of possibility we could have our first field goal attempt here if they were just wanting to chew the clock down, because like we said, though, Pekin does have all 3 of their timeouts. They wanted to try and stall this out.
But on the contrary, Cody, that's a lot of pressure.
It
on
is.
a kicker.
You're trusting a kicker who hasn't had a field goal attempt yet in his high school career, to our knowledge, and you're also trusting that your offense wouldn't punch it in, which would be the ideal opportunity here. But it's a lot of yin and yang balance here. Do you waste more time? Do you think you're, like your chances running it twice, not getting in, telling your running back just to go down on the 1 and then sneaking it in on like a 3rd and goal? Or do you trust the fact that you're going to put your defense out there and give yourself a chance to win on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, Brett Cazalet and company have not shied away from flirting with that play clock all night, Cody. They have chewed the clock and then chewed it some more on nearly every drive. Usually going with that wishbone formation. Something that is not standard for Dunlap offenses, but they've run it a lot tonight, and it has worked. And now they are knocking on the doorstep after 2 personal fouls on Pekin.
Running up to the line. 11 on the play clock.
Burke looks outside, play clock at 5. The give to Gore, and he's in. It's the 3rd touchdown of the night for Gore, and it's the biggest of them all. Dunlap takes a late lead.
Yeah, find Gore and give it to him some more. Pounding it up the middle. Finally getting back on top by a touchdown. But like we saw Pekin earlier, they have another 2-minute drill ahead of them to try and knot this game up at 28 pending the PAT.
Big PAT forthcoming to put Dunlap up by a full 7 points. Here we go.
Big pressure kick from a kid who hasn't had to kick many so far.
The snap is high, the hold, and the drive is through the uprights.
Wow, was that ever close to getting blocked off the edge? Pekin, I think, could have smelled it coming off his foot, but instead Dunlap able to put it through. 7-point edge. It's going to go back to the Pekin offense to see how this game will end.
Probably heard the whistle of the laces on that one. And we take this brief pause to remind you that tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Uftring Nissan on Allen Road in Peoria. Test drive the latest exciting Nissan products, including the all-new 2021 Rogue and Sentra, plus save time and buy your car 100% online. Visit UfteringNissan.net today. And by Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 for all your insurance needs, or visit sfbutler.com. It's Zach Butler State Farm in Pekin. A battle between the 2019 Mid-Illini Co-Conference champions is going to come down to the wire. Dunlap pulling ahead on a 1-yard rush by Mitchell Gore. Does Pekin have a clutch drive in him?
Well, like we said, we've seen some spotty tackling by the Dunlap special teams kickoff unit. So the realm of possibility here of a Pekin kick return to set him up in great field position is very high. That's got to be thing number 1. Is you have to get the ball carrier down to the turf here. You cannot let him extend this past midfield.
Here's the boot. It's a line drive squib kick. Gets all the way back. Logan Buck on the return. Bounces outside. Breaks a man's ankles, but he's wrapped up. Not even at the 30-yard line. Buck almost had an opening there, Cody, but just could not find enough green space.
Yeah, well enough. I guess edge control there on the kickoff unit. Let's go back to Pekin with 1:50 to go. They had success throwing the ball over the top of the defense on that kind of skinny post/fade route. See, maybe they go back to that here in crunch time.
Cody, I want to go back to the second quarter when we saw a very similar situation to what we see now. Pekin took over the drive. They got the ball back with under 2 minutes to go in the quarter. In fact, I believe it was right around a minute to go in the half. And they marched down the field and scored a touchdown on a Wyatt Van Ness touchdown pass to Logan Buck, which gave them a 14-7 halftime lead.
Yeah, and they started out that drive with a couple of ground attack handoffs. So we'll see a similar formula here.
Pekin has 3 timeouts. Dunlap has 1. Van Ness, the pump fake. He's going to air it out down the field. It's picked off by Calhoun. Interception, Gabe Calhoun.
Yeah, and that's the direct result of Pekin running about 3 or 4 of those 8-yard hitch routes. That's where you throw it, run the hitch route, pump, and you just tell your receiver to tear off downfield. But the problem is you've got an all-everything corner in Gabe Calhoun.
What a start to the senior season for Gabe Calhoun. And he stays on the field with the offense, and Dunlap is firmly in control with 1:46 remaining.
Still the 3 timeouts, though, however, for Pekin, so they can stop the clock and get the ball back, but it's going to have to start here. They cannot allow a first down.
As we were mentioning before the play, 3 timeouts remain for Pekin. So it's not over yet, but they can't afford to have the chains moved. The give to Gore.
Look at that pile just inching forward.
Gore keeping the legs churning. Picks up 2, and Pekin burns its first timeout.
If I had to guess, I'd say this is probably another handoff to Gore coming up here again. But after that, on 3rd down, if he doesn't achieve a first down, do you maybe run a little misdirection off it? We saw them scorch the Pekin defense off the edge with another wingback motion handoff. Do you maybe go back to that here, fake it again, quarterback keep? There's a lot of possibilities, and it's got to have Pekin really stressed out in their linebacking core.
Now, Cody, on the flip side of things, if you're Dunlap, what's the message in your huddle if you're Brett Cazalet?
Well, first things first, you have to hold on to the football. And if you do happen to break a big run, you have to make sure you go down inbounds. This cannot hit the sideline and give Pekin a free timeout. But the first things first, you have to hang on to that ball, double cup it if you're Gore, going through that middle of the pack on the defense, and make sure you go down, go down in the field of play and force Pekin to burn a timeout.
Now, do you dare go to anybody but Mitchell Gore, the senior with 3 touchdowns tonight?
Well, and that's just it. I mean, do you trust like Glover coming off the edge on a jet handoff? Do you trust your backup quarterback to keep one and get down safely? But yeah, if I was, Dunlap, I would definitely be handing this ball up the middle to Gore and see what you have here on 3rd down.
Madden Burke under center. It looks like it's a give to the outside for Orr. Orr's moving towards the chains, and he's passed. That's going to be a first down, and that could seal it for Dunlap. 90 seconds remaining, and they move the chains.
Yeah, I kind of thought that play call would maybe come on 3rd down when you force Pekin to try and scan and pick their poison, so to speak, on the defensive side. But why get it on 3rd when you can get it on 2nd?
So it'll be 1st and 10 forthcoming from the 47. Burke has the play call.
So Pekin was still 2 timeouts. I'll let the play clock run all the way down, Dunlap will let it run all the way down, snap it, and hand it off, and then Pekin again will play the timeout game on 2nd and 3rd down. So this will be the down they'll eat the time on.
See Burke just standing. Play clock at 5, and now the give up the middle to who else but Gore. Diving forward for a gain of 3.
Yep, and Pekin will burn their 2nd of timeouts here.
Now, Cody, I'm no mathematician, but if somebody calculated the win probability for Dunlap right now, I put it at roughly 95%. It's going to have to
It
There's
takes
going to have to be a mistake.
Yeah, so
Dunlap to
essentially
lose this one.
what essentially has to happen here for Pekin to get out with the win. And it's not far-standing circumstances, it's just the probability of each individual circumstance happening. One, you have to get a stop here on second down. You can't allow some 8-yard carry again like you did on the last down. You have to force the ball carrier down quickly, burn a timeout. You'll have, I believe that'll be their last one they have. On third down, you then have to eat the clock. And Pekin will have to snap it because of the 25-second play clock before then. And you're going to have maybe 10 seconds left for your offense to work if you quickly call for a fair catch.
Good breakdown there by Cody Roskins. Larry and Cody along for the ride with you on CSM tonight. Thanks for joining us all evening long for the season opener for both these squads. The 2019 Mid-Illini co-champions getting the spring season started. Has not disappointed. Burke, the give to Gore. Dives forward for a gain of 1 or 2. And Pekin takes its final timeout before third down.
Yep, and basically 48 seconds left on the game clock here, and that's the last timeout from Pekin. So what has to happen here is each play clock here has resets at 25 before the ball is snapped, or before the referee signals they're ready for play. So this again will run down. They'll eat the 25, and they'll have to re-snap it again, and it's going to be close. They may not have enough time to get another play off here on offense, but first things first, you got to get the ball carrier down here to force it to fourth down and have that clock move.
It'll be third, and it looks like about 5 forthcoming after we break out of these huddles.
And the thing for Pekin to note is they're not really going for the tackle anymore. They're going for the strip. So don't be surprised if you see Gore break off a 12-yard run here just being suspended up by defensive players just trying to rip the ball out. And I'm sure that's a much easier said than done, but that's just the job that Pekin has left here. They are running out of options, and one of those, the easiest being getting the ball back. So you have to have people punching and prying for that ball. Don't be surprised to see 3 or 4 white shirts really trying to paw at it.
Got to fight, scrap, and claw for any sort of chance that the Dragons have left. Down to their final chance. The handoff goes to Gore. He stayed up for a good while, gets brought down at the 45.
And they will have to snap it.
That makes things interesting.
Now, what I would do here if I'm Dunlap, and this will sound crazy, you come out in your punt formation, but you have 2 back in case the punt gets over the head of the punter. You snap it and you just immediately go to the turf as soon as the time expired, and you never have to punt the ball off. But the flip side of that is Pekin's coming after it. They know they have to get the ball back. So they may not necessarily set up for the return as much as they will sell out for the block.
Now, Cody, I don't even know if Dunlap's going to send out the punt team. I think what Brett Cazalet might do is take a timeout.
Yep. They could either take the delay game or they could take the timeout here. Either would work just fine.
And they will indeed take a
2.7.
timeout. So, it's not often you see a buzzer beater in football. We saw our fair share of them in basketball season on ClutchSportsIL.com, but it's going to take one for Pekin to send this one to overtime or score a touchdown and go for the 2-point conversion for the win.
And again, the risky thing is here is you can't just come out and take a knee because the clock wouldn't take, or excuse me, the play wouldn't take enough time, and you would give Pekin 1 play left. So what has to happen here, your quarterback or your punter has to receive the snap deep enough to where they can hold on to it, let the clock expire, and then take a knee or go down prior to the defense getting back and forcing a stop. Because this is fourth down. If the ball lies dead with time on the clock, Pekin's getting the ball back. But I would be very surprised if I see the ball go in the air at all here. With a punt, with a run, with anything. This has got to be just eat the ball. It's going to sound crazy. The Baltimore Ravens do this all the time with their punt unit in the back of the end zone. They'll take the snap, and they will have their punter run around like a headless chicken waiting for time to expire.
We will see what Dunlap does. They're not going to send out the punt unit, Cody, so you got that right. And honestly, if I'm Dunlap, I come out in the shotgun formation, but it doesn't look like they're going to do that. They're going to come out in the wishbone.
Yeah, and again, I'm expecting the quarterback, if they do give this off, they're just going to run back 3 or 4 yards and just hit the turf. This cannot be any sort of a shot.
Madden Burke, excuse me. Under center.
Oh,
little movement on the line. We'll see what the call is.
Now,
it's on Dunlap.
Now, this doesn't affect everything, just because essentially still only 2.7 seconds left. You got to be careful here. If I'm Dunlap, I send someone back around the 20-yard line, maybe even run a linebacker on, or Gabe Calhoun back there, one of your quicker players, If the snap gets over the head or it's fumbled and someone picks it up, you got to have somebody back there to make the stop. But you have to think that this is most likely just going to be a snap, run back a couple yards, fall to the turf, let's get out of here. But Pekin, you have to sell out for this. Maybe a fumbled snap on the exchange, you dive at the leg, something. You've got to find a way to scratch and paw, like you said, Larry, to get this ball back.
So barring a miracle, Dunlap will move to 1-0, and Pekin will move to 0-1. Certainly a big result between what could be two contenders and a very competitive Mid-Illini conference. Madden Burke, under center once again, takes it, hands off to the sweeping man, and that'll do it. Dunlap moves to 1-0, taking the matchup between 2019 Mid-Illini co-champions by a final score of 28-21.
Yeah, so just quick recap for you, Larry. We kind of ran through 101 different scenarios there, how that could go. I guess Dunlap just felt more confident in their ability to execute a normal set play that we've seen them run a couple times. And so I could see the thought process there. You get it. I don't love the idea of trying to run it after you expired the clock. I would love the idea of just getting down. But nevertheless, a win is a win is a win. In the rubber match, so to speak, like you said, Dunlap would get the dub. And it's a tough way to eat the season opening game for Pekin.
We'll give you a full scoring rundown here. In the first quarter, Dunlap started with a touchdown that really set the tone. A Madden Burke touchdown pass to Gabe Calhoun, which gave the Eagles a 7-0 lead. Pekin responded with 14 points in the second quarter. A Van Ness touchdown pass to Logan Buck just before the half was the highlight there. And then in the second half, Cody, it was the Mitchell Gore show. 3 touchdown runs to Will Dunlap to a season-opening victory. It's not a stretch to say that he's our clutch-up player of the game.
Oh, no doubt. Gore did everything and then some, especially after the injury to the quarterback, Dietz. You got to love his effort and hard running. Finally able to bust a long one there late in the fourth. And you're so proud to see just a team chew it out when everything wasn't really going their way for both sides in this game. And just a well-played game on both ends. Just got to clean up the senseless penalties for next week.
And one more time for our sponsorship crew tonight. Tonight's coverage was brought to you by Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in North Pekin. From Wranglers and Grand Cherokees to Rams and family vans, you'll always get a better bottom dollar at Uftring Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. UfteringPekin.com. And by Uftring Nissan on Allen Road in Peoria. Test drive the latest exciting Nissan products, including the all-new 2021 Rogue and Sentra. Plus, save time and buy your car 100% online. Visit UfteringNissan.net today. And by Zach Butler, State Farm in Pekin. Call 309-347-3115 or visit sfbutler.com. For all your insurance needs, it's Zach Butler, State Farm. Looking ahead for both these squads as Dunlap moves to 1-0 and Pekin falls to 0-1 to start this season. Upcoming schedule, Dunlap goes to Washington next week. You can catch that broadcast on ClutchSportsIL.com. That's right. You enjoyed this game with Dunlap? Catch him next week for what's sure to be another great matchup on the road at Babcock Field at Washington. And the Dragons, they will host the Morton Potters at home. So Pekin with their home opener next week. Dunlap hits the road at Washington. Again, you can catch that broadcast on ClutchSportsIL.com. Again, the final, Dunlap 28, Pekin 21. Cody, your final thoughts?
Just a well-played game on both sides. For Pekin, you like to see your defense not surrender so many senseless penalties and not necessarily cost you the game, but really hinder your chances to win. And for Dunlap, this ground and pound offense is very scary. If they can find another consistent way to score through the air, watch out. Dunlap may be, very poised to go on a tear through the Mid-Illini.
That about does it from Dunlap High School tonight. The Eagles come out with a 28-21 season-opening victory over Mid-Illini Conference rival Pekin. A big congratulations goes out to our entire Clutch Sports media team for a job well done tonight. Joey Wright at the controls, Francisco Alonso on social media, Josh Schwam as well on social media, roaming the sidelines for some great pictures. You can find those on Instagram at Clutch Sports Media in about an hour and a half or so. And for my partner, Cody Roskins, Jonathan Michael on the roof as well. But for my partner, Cody Roskins, I'm Larry Larson saying so long and good night. Thank you for joining us from Dunlap tonight. The Eagles move to 1-0.